part.
I
5
think,
weeks? I don't remember.
I think it's Jessica.
yeah, I think it is.
Okay. First order of business is done. All right, okay, so she's recording. So I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Corporation of the Township of Portsmouth on February 10th, 2021. And we'll start with roll call. Councillor Goyda,
Present.
Councillor Spillis,
Present.
Councillor Bailey,
Present.
Councillor Ballmer.
Present.
Okay, and then we'll have a moment of reflection. Okay, that concludes our moment of reflection. We'll have the confirmation of the agenda. Ms. White Fox.
The council approves the February 10th, 2021 agenda as circulated, and that council approves the additions to the agenda as follows. 9.3.1 revised report ADM 2021-005 bylaw complaint policy. 9.3.2 revised report ADM 2021-006 proposed parking bylaw update. 10.3 request from TAPMO regarding retention of public relations firm. And 12.1 revised bylaw 2021-006 being a bylaw to repeal and replace Schedule D through F of bylaw 5000-05 being a bylaw to regulate the parking or stopping of vehicles on highways within the township of Portsmouth.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a mover for that, please?
I'll move.
And a seconder? Okay, Councillor Bailey. Any discussion and all in favor? Councillor Goyda,
In favor.
Councillor Spillis,
In favor.
Councillor Bailey,
In favor.
Councillor Ballmer.
In favor.
Okay. So today we're hoping to, before we get into the consent agenda, we're going to move up Mr. Stovall as well as Ivan for the parking bylaws. So that's item number 932. And then following Ivan's report on the parking bylaw, we'll move up the Guelph presentation, which is 941. Just so we don't, there's 4 members of Guelph staff attending today, so just not to keep them too long. With council's indulgence, they support that. Head nod to the head, we're okay. All right, what are we at? We're at 10:03, close enough to 10:05 in my books. By the time you get Mr. Stovall moved over, Ms. White Fox. Oh. Oh, I better do our disclosure of pecuniary interest before we get into anything. So, any disclosures of pecuniary interest, please?
Yes, I do.
Okay, Councillor Goyda.
I'm declaring a pecuniary interest for items 6.22 and 10.3, which are the OSGA letter and the TAPMO request. And I don't have a pecuniary interest to receive the information, but I do have a pecuniary interest in discussions or decisions on these matters as a family member operates an aggregate in the township.
Okay, thank you. Any further? No? Okay. Now I'll get the delegation to move over. Hello, Mr. Stovall.
Hello,
There we go.
and can you see me?
Cannot.
I love this. This is great.
I know it's definitely different.
Start video.
There he is.
I think I'm there.
Yep.
Ta-da! Very good. My wife sent me just as a booster today, a meme from an actual meeting where a lawyer's face was replaced with a talking cat by his kids that were now at home with him during the COVID. So I'm hoping that I don't look like a cat or anything else. So
Oh, you're okay.
for me, it's not the kids, it's the grandkids so much now. They're back to school now, so that's great.
It's great for everyone.
Anyway, thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of council. I hope everyone's well during this time of COVID. And I see that you're moving forward with business. It's great. My name is Rob Stovall. I've been before council a few times in the past. I'm representing Mr. George Good and Audrey Meadows. And just like to take a moment to provide an overview of his proposal. And I think that the number one thing that I want to emphasize as part of his proposal ideas is that in the future, as part of the municipal comprehensive review and official plan amendments, that for the Audrey Meadows idea, concept to move forward, it has to get included as a settlement or part of a settlement within the county official plan. And there are 5 things that from a planning standpoint that are related to all this. The first one is that the population projections for the township are going to be coming forward from the county. They had extended out to 2051, so another 10 years. And in my view, there has to be room for growth, a fair and equitable share of growth in the county for the township. And that growth has to be satisfactory to the township and the county. It has to meet your requirements. But if there isn't any provision for growth, then well, Mr. Good's proposal won't work. And we think that the township in the long run would be hamstrung by that. So that's the first thing that I view that has to happen. The second thing is that as part of the idea of the settlement or being part of a settlement, a line has to be drawn around part or all of the Audrey Meadows property. And intrinsic to this is the third part, is that municipal services or other form of service that is satisfactory to the approval authorities has to be developed. And Mr. Good has a specific proposal for meeting that. And I'd like to talk about that a little bit more. The fourth thing is that there's a provision within the county official plan that deals with the 1 kilometer buffer from the city of Guelph. Now, we view that official plan policy as needing modifications during the upcoming municipal comprehensive review. And in Mr. Good's situation, Audrey Meadows' situation, we've looked at the mapping and we think that the site-specific provision is appropriate. There's a 600-meter buffer from the city limits or more. And the buffer is provided by a fairly large tract of forest lands. And we also note that at the southern part of the city, as part of their multi-road concept, that there's open space provisions there too. So we think that on a site-specific basis, there's reason to modify that policy. And the fifth thing is that what I'm talking about is not something that has never been determined or decided in the province. It's not a precedent-setting situation. It has happened in other rural municipalities. I cited 2 examples in the county of Dufferin, one in Mono and one in Amaranth, where settlements had been identified where there is no settlement before. One is on the outskirts of city of Orangeville, and the other one is has not even been developed yet. It's just going through the approvals process. It's a phased development. It's going through the approvals process now for plans of subdivision, and it has to meet the criteria that the county and the township set out over there. So back to George's George Good's proposal. His Audrey Meadows, the phase one is an existing rural residential development. It was developed on lower capability agricultural lands, surrounded by green lands, and there's provisions like all the other developments in the area, Mill Creek, Mini Lakes, and Fox Run. There's provisions for open space, passive and active recreational. And that's what we want to do in phase two, is build on that and enhance the environment through native plantings and recognize the forest cover and not have any impacts on that. And the way that, get to the meat of it, the way that we think that we can deal with the servicing component is through communal system or some sort of municipal service that would meet township satisfaction. A communal system that George is looking at provides for communal water. We know there's lots of water in that area through the prior drillings, and communal sewage treatment. And I won't get into that because that's highly engineered and that'll require a separate discussion to talk all about that. What we think that's really important about it, though, is that all this stuff has to be developed to the satisfaction of the township and not put a burden on the township's taxpayers, and be safe and monitored and maintained appropriately. And the condominium proposal that Mr. Good's thinking of would address all those requirements. And I think you'll know me from the past and from Mr. Good is that while we're anxious to get things moving forward, we're not going to try to push something on the municipality that the municipality doesn't want. We're prepared to work with your consulting team and all the agencies to get something that is satisfactory to the township. But we really do think that some form of development is appropriate on the phase two lands, and they've been identified on the maps that I've showed you. And you know, we'd like the chance to work through the process. First step is identifying a settlement or part of a settlement. And then there's a phased approval process to work through all the different engineering requirements and layout of the lots and all those types of things. It'll take several years to complete. But that's, we just wanted to start the process, introduce the concept to you, and hopefully work through the process with the township and the county to move this thing forward. So that's the overview of what I'm trying to do. The paperwork that I provided to the township provides a little bit more detail than what I've talked about today. But I think that the most important thing of my discussion has been laid out, and I've done it within the time limit, which was reinforced to me before I started talking. So if you have any questions, I'll try to do my best to answer them. And if I can't, I'll either come back to council at another time or send in any paperwork that I can generate to address your concerns or questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Stovall. Pretty sure the consensus around the horseshoe is that growth in Puslinch is a concern for the future. When the province redrew all the mapping for the natural heritage features and green spaces, and it took out a lot of potential for consents across the township, which we survive off of for lessening the tax burden on the township as a whole. I've had extensive conversations with the county surrounding that 1 kilometer exclusion. So, and I'll continue to have those conversations. I've been told different reasonings as to why it was put into place. And one of these Councillor Bulmer brought up to me in a different conversation, but years ago they had, and Councillor Bulmer, you can correct me, but I believe the city of Guelph maintained some of our roads or boundary roads, or there was some sort of agreement in place where we received funds, and part of that exclusions surrounded that 1 kilometer exclusion of development zone. It's also there, I believe, historically, so that growth wasn't around the fringes of the municipality, and then there'd be an appetite for development and annexation, sorry. And I believe now it's the opposite. If we don't allow some modest development in that 1 kilometer, then we're keeping it as a blank slate for future annexation. And when annexation happens, if we don't have development in there, we wouldn't be compensated monetarily as high as if we could, or an argument that this would put the township in a financial situation by removing a large chunk of tax base. So there's a lot of things going on. I hear what you're saying. We are going through the MCR. That's why this is appropriate with the county. And settlement areas, whether it's where you're located or hamlet boundary adjustments and growth, all those are conversations that council is going to have with the county for this MCR, because it only comes around, what is it, every 5 years they review it, maybe less. So thank you, Mr. Stovall.
5 years.
Yeah. And it probably ends up being a little longer, but
Yes.
and I'll open this up to council. Councillor Goyda.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much for coming today and presenting this concept to council. I did also have the opportunity to speak to the applicant, Mr. Good, prior to this meeting, and I am impressed with the work in the outside of the box thinking that has gone into this. Certainly, Puslinch continues to be a highly desirable place to live for a multitude of reasons, and it is a wonderful, stable community. It does seem like the demand continues to grow and to live and to work here, but it seems like the land that allows for us to build new homes and businesses is becoming increasingly hard to come by. So, this proposal, the other thing is the fact that there's no municipal services in the township. It really does hinder our ability to grow, because as you mentioned, the growth plan requires that growth to be directed to settlements and those with municipal water and wastewater. So I think as the province continues to be more restrictive in where and how growth can happen, as Mayor Sealy said, in order for Puslinch to continue as a stable community into the long-range future, I think it will be increasingly important to give a good sort of in-depth review and consideration to ideas and proposals that have the potential to allow for some sustainable growth. This particular plan or concept or idea, at least from a broad high-level view, it has the potential ability to provide a solution to the servicing component by incorporating the communal water system and the sewage treatment system. And I do have a couple of questions about that component. I'm wondering if you have had any kind of indication or discussion with either the province or the county or anywhere as to whether that type of sort of private communal servicing system would satisfy the policy of the growth plan sort of broadly as it relates to development only being permitted where municipal services exist.
Yes. So I haven't had any discussions with the county or the province on it, but I do know from these other developments that that type of servicing does satisfy it. That's how they were able to establish, particularly over in Mono, where they have, I wouldn't say the same system, but it's a communal system. So,
Okay.
yeah, and the definitions provide for some flexibility within the definition of what a municipal service is. It has to have the provision of being maintained by the municipality. And I think whether the township has staff to do that or not. There are consulting companies that do that. I think Aqua's one. They maintain water and sewer systems. And those types of services are paid for by the condominium fees from each one of the homeowners within the development. And then I believe there has to be some sort of security set up by the condominium corporation, which in this case would be George. And eventually when the condominium was filled, there has to be securities provided to ensure that it's properly maintained and monitored. And if there's any hiccups with it, that those hiccups are fixed up. So those are all aspects that need to come forward and fleshed out as part of any type of approval and agreement between the applicant and the approval authorities, yourself primarily. So it has happened and it can happen. And we have to work our way through the whole process. It'll take several years to be able to go through and do it. But yes, there is precedent for it.
Okay. And would the intent of the communal servicing be to connect only whatever, like the proposed new phase, or would the intent be that the existing Audrey Meadows development would connect into that communal servicing as well?
Yeah, so that at this point, the package that George is considering now provides for the ability to add on. Currently, we're just looking at the lands that the phase 2 lands.
Okay.
Now, the existing servicing within the lot structure of the 48 lot development, those lots are all big. They're all 1 acre plus lots. So they don't, they service satisfactorily on their own. I mean, if there was an issue ever came up, that I'm sure there could be something extended, but that wasn't what we were thinking of. Extension is possible, but I think that the existing 48 lot subdivision is fine right now, the way it's working.
Okay. In the document that you had provided prior to the meeting, you had listed the planning challenges that you anticipate with this application, and you spoke to them here briefly today as well. The biggest hurdle and the most crucial is having Audrey Meadows as a whole, I believe as a whole, established as a settlement area or part of a settlement area. And that would form part of the municipal comprehensive review. And so in speaking with the county planning staff, as they work through the MCR and as it progresses, council will be able to provide input on where we want growth to go and which areas to consider for growth. But the MCR, though, will have to implement the provincial rules. And I think, as I said, I think it's important to take a look at any potential opportunities, including this one. But I'm concerned, however, that the growth plan has language that specifically says the establishment of new settlement areas is prohibited. And I think a lot of the other challenges can be addressed through the MCR, but I'm wondering if you can comment or give any kind of input on how we get past that roadblock in terms of establishing it as a settlement when the growth plan appears to anyway specifically prohibit that.
Well, one way of looking at it, if that was the view that was taken, I don't think that's my view, but if that was the view that was taken by the county and the province, then one option would be to say it is a part of an existing area. So for instance, there's an existing settlement area identified at Aberfoyle. So as part of the municipal comprehensive review, the lines could be adjusted and in our view, hopefully incorporate the Audrey Meadows lands as part of it. I think one of the most important writing considerations in setting the limits of community or a settlement are that no prime agricultural lands are consumed and there's a minimal impact on agricultural operations. And I see that as being a key aspect of the Audrey Meadows site. It is on lower capability land and there are no active livestock operations in the area. So when you comparatively look at other municipalities, how they're identifying expansions to existing settlements, they can't say that. So in relative terms, and comparatively speaking, the Audrey Meadows site is better than a lot of those other areas. And I think that you'll see that also when you start looking at is existing settlements within the county and the township too. So that's the way I view it.
Okay.
Now I have a little bit more flexible interpretation than what some of the other planners have. But I also think that when I say these things that they have some merit, and they do address county and provincial requirements. So that's my view of it.
Yeah, and I think the growth plan perhaps isn't a one size fits all
That's right.
for every community. But I just,
I went down to the ministry, excuse me for interrupting. I went down to the ministry and I had my 10 seconds with the minister. They really didn't even know where Puslinch was at the time. And I said, you have to leave some flexibility for municipalities to be able to grow. And, you know, I think part of our process that we work through is that because a lot of the ministry staff are urban centric, that they don't understand the concerns and limitations in rural municipalities like Puslinch. So this is one way of addressing it.
great. Thank you. I thank you very much. I have no further questions.
You, Councillor Spoulos?
Yes, thank you for coming, giving us a show and tell. What do you expect out of your presentation to us today? An endorsement to the county or something else?
Wow, that would be awesome. I don't expect that though. I expect that what we're going to have to do is work through the process and satisfy you and the county that this is a viable and reasonable planning alternative. And I think that starting the process here, and I think that what the township needs to do as part of the MCR is that you need to keep the door open from your population projection and land needs assessment requirements. And I think that you need to thoroughly vet the settlement ideas. And there's flexibility within the growth plan projections to allow for this type of interpretation. I've done it in other municipalities. We're looking at it now. And the new 2019 amendment and the projections that were completed in 2020, they provide municipalities with the flexibility to allow for this type of growth and greater growth. So I would encourage the township to actively push towards what I think and what I hope you think is positive growth, you know, in the future.
And I completely support developments such as yours. I just want to make sure that we as a township have a comprehensive plan, that we're not plugging a piece in here and plugging a piece in there, but a large scale plan that has a logic to it and where we want to go and how we expand. The two examples you cited, are they a part of an existing settlement, or are they basically similar to yours where somebody's tagged on a phase 2 onto an existing development?
Well, the Farmington one in particular, if you look at the air photos of the site, there's really nothing there right now. It's just going through process. And what the township had to do was they had to go through, set out the boundaries for where a settlement was, come forth with planning policies, and it was approved. And then it took, it's almost 10 years since that time before plans of subdivision are being developed on it. So it's a process. It takes time to work your way through the process. So that's a clear one where it's in the middle of nowhere. What's next to Orangeville, but there is no estate subdivision around it or anything like that. The Mona one is different. There were several non-farm residential developments around it, but a developer came in and put forth this proposal, and it took several years for the town to consider it and finally approve it. And it's been several years, decades getting it developed. It's beautiful now, though. But it wasn't identified at the time, and now it is. You know, it's taken years for it to be developed fully, though.
No, I support in principle your idea of expansion of phase 2, and I'd like to see it as part of a bigger comprehensive settlement area. I guess I have a question for Mr. Mayor. Mayor, where do you see this going? In other words, we have a small proposal here, and I think we have to think more globally for identifying a larger settlement area. And how do we articulate that, and how do we discuss and figure out where this larger settlement area should be?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Spose. I agree with you. I feel that we need to have more discussions, but that would be with county planning staff through the MCR. But this is a good way to get some people thinking at this council about what is an appropriate settlement designation. I would prefer to see a larger designated area if it's appropriate, and I think Councillor Goyda was kind of touching on it when she was mentioning expansion on to that system. I don't believe she was, and I'm sorry if I'm putting words in your mouth, Councillor, you can correct me, but your thought wasn't going towards the existing 48 large acre homes. You were thinking other possible lands that could be developed around Mr. Good's proposal, because I believe there's still vacant land between your proposal, Mr. Stovall, and the Fox Run development. So that was my thinking, is that will there be, if this ends up being a small micro municipal, getting off track here slightly, but would there be expansion? But I agree, Councillor Spose, this should be a conversation about where council's comfortable on settlement, how large, if it's possible, with county staff through the MCR process, or even we can invite county staff down to talk about this settlement issue specifically, because I feel we need to get ahead of this to make sure that we get it right, because it's going to be very important for this community. Did that help, Councillor Spose?
It does. I have a question for our CAO. In the same vein, do you believe we should be relying on the county, or we should be looking at bringing in our own planners to sort of develop something for us?
That would be a discussion we'd like to have with council. You could do it both ways. I just leave it at this, that it'd be a discussion we'd want to have with all of you as council, is how you wanted next to proceed with this.
Okay.
So Councillor Spose, I'll leave this with you. Maybe I'll circle back. Possibly an outcome out of this meeting is we pose the question to county planners, because Councillor Goyda raised it about the settlement. Is if say council were to give direction to identify settlements, is it even possible? Right? Because if it's not possible,
Yes, it is.
well, Councillor Balmer, I'm trying to appease everybody's concerns. So we can get an answer from county, and I believe it is as well, but it's just a process we need to go through. So maybe that's the what we get out of this meeting is, pose some questions to county staff and get their response, and then we discuss them.
Sounds good. Okay, that's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Bailey.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you, Robert, for coming today. A few of my questions have already been answered, so I'm going to move on to maybe just expressing my concern with, I just want to make sure we are going through the proper process and avoiding having random development sprawl that's not part of a bigger plan. And I was relating it to doing a puzzle. If you think of the township as a puzzle and someone gives you a piece and you're trying to jam it in and it's not quite working, maybe down the road that puzzle will fit once we have a more kind of bigger plan in place. So Mayor, getting back to what you had just suggested, I had written down that I would like staff to comment on what this proposal is and in regards to the impact that it would have on the township. I'm a little bit concerned with the precedent that it might be setting, because we don't want random sprawl developments now happening all over the township that aren't part of the plan. So I guess I'm just looking for staff comments on this.
At this moment, or would you likely be proposing
moving
a
it.
motion?
Yeah, what next in the process, not today specifically.
Okay, Councillor Ballmer? Oh, sorry, Councillor Bailey, did you have any further questions?
Nope, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ballmer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good to see you again, Mr. Stovall. I always enjoy your presentations. And boy, you're right. You and I, I've seen so many of them. So always enjoy them. Thank you so much. Just want to pick up on, I'm a little confused, and I know we're not trying to solve the entire problem here today. We've heard that it's the servicing, the communal servicing is going to be both managed by a condominium. It's going to be private servicing, and we've heard it's going to be both municipally owned. So in other words, it's in one piece of documentation you provided us, it suggests it's going to be private communal servicing like we have at Mini Lakes, but you also mentioned it's going to be municipally owned, or a municipal well and sewer system. How do we square those two contradictions at this point? What is your actual, are you open to either?
Well, I'm definitely open, Mr. Ballmer. I wanted to leave the options open, and we still have to recognize that we have to satisfy the provincial requirements for the, however they determine municipal services. But the definition within the plan allows for it not to be owned, but to be operated by the municipality. That's why they have, and if the municipality doesn't have the staff on site to be able to oversee it, which I doubt they do, that's why they have these consulting firms, like I mentioned, Aqua, and there's others that manage these systems. And you know, they don't do it for free. So the fees that they charge would have to be covered by the condominium corporation. So it's kind of everyone's
It's a hybrid.
together. Yes, yes. But
I thought I heard that in your presentation, but I wasn't quite sure.
the key part about it is that no matter what happens in the end, that the municipality is not left with a tax burden because of the approval of this. And that's what we're going to ensure when we work our way through it.
I'm pretty certain that if the municipality says the only way, this is just hypothetical, the only way this gets approved, that if the municipality owns the system, is George going to say, no, I'm not going to do it? Right? You're going to want to work with the municipality, right?
Yeah, we know from the history within the township that whatever we propose, it has to be to the satisfaction of the township, or it just will not go any.
That's right.
It will not go forward.
I think Councillor was just making sure that there was the possibility of both. There's options, but that's pretty far down the road, I believe.
Things either. I've never been, well, I don't want to ram anything through. We want to work with the municipality and the good team that the municipality has peer reviewing these things. So we want to work with everyone and make sure everyone's happy.
So thank you for that. That's an interesting hybrid, similar to, maybe that's what happened in the region of Waterloo when the region took over the operation of a number of these private systems in the past. It's they didn't take the ownership, perhaps. Maybe they only took the operation. Now there's a lot of details here to be worked out in the future, and we're a long ways from that. But it's interesting that this hasn't been worked out yet. This is a very big unknown at this point as to whether the province would then consider that to be a municipal supply well if it's operated by the municipality, and therefore be subject to an environmental assessment and the wellhead protection policies, and developing new wellhead protection policies and all those things, which wouldn't apply if it remained owned and operated by the condominium association. So that's a big question we're going to have to figure out in terms of the cost to implement this as a municipal system, whether they own it or operate it. That's going to be a question the province is going to have to answer for us, I expect. The other piece, in the written stuff that I saw, you said that one of the rationales behind the development was the fact that it'd be municipally owned. it'd be municipally water and sewer. But what's interesting, when we look at the provincial policy statement, which is the guiding planning statement for the growth plan, the official plan, zoning bylaws, I agree that the provincial policy statement does enable the establishment of new settlement areas and or expansion of existing settlement areas, but they do provide two specific tests. One is, as you've mentioned, that there is no capacity to accommodate the planned growth within the existing approved areas. And when I look at the latest reports we've got, the last update was just a couple of years ago, we had sufficient capacity to handle growth to 2041 here in the township. And as part of the last comprehensive zoning bylaw update, we rezoned about 50 acres of land within the hamlet to be future development, suggesting there's growth opportunities in the existing hamlet. So I'm somewhat concerned that the first test hasn't been met yet in terms of demonstrating that we don't have sufficient growth potential already in the township, either between consents, opportunities in Morriston that exist within the existing hamlet boundaries, or within Aberfoyle within the existing hamlet boundaries. But I think it's important to note that this same policy speaks to the expansion of hamlet areas. And that's the one piece that I think I'm glad to hear council talking about that being hesitant and worried about a satellite development. If the discussion moves towards expanding the existing hamlet boundary to take in Fox Run and existing Audrey Meadows and perhaps a phase 2 of Audrey Meadows, then we're talking about a complete community. We're talking about community vision. We're talking about connected communities. It makes it possible to have parks and trails. It makes it part of a bigger plan. But if we start talking about just phase 2 as being defined as a settlement area, we're really going out on a limb. And if we don't meet the first test of the PPS or the second test of the PPS, which is that it'll be serviced by services that are either planned or exist, when we have neither planned services or existing services for it, if we go down the path of a satellite community that doesn't meet either test of the PPS, then I think, as Councillor Bailey pointed out, that's not planned. That's jamming a puzzle piece where it doesn't belong. But if we're looking at a comprehensive review of what we believe constitutes the hamlet of Aberfoyle, and decide that it includes Aberfoyle Creek, Fox Run, maybe Audrey Meadows, and maybe some other lands that are outside the floodplains, then maybe we've got something that is more in keeping with a comprehensive review that we're doing at the county. So I guess that would be, and the one last piece I would say that's specific to this application that is not a planning issue, but is more a personal and resident-based issue is, as I mentioned to Mr. Good, I remain concerned that the existing residents were required to agree to not object to expansion to a phase 2. It's part of their purchase and sale agreement. And I know several of them are upset about the fact that they feel they wouldn't have the opportunity to speak to this or have their concerns addressed because of that clause. I've never liked those clauses. And one of the things I would absolutely want to see before I supported anything along this line is that those residents are released from that clause in their purchase and sale agreement, regardless of how legally binding it is. It's still distasteful. And it's not how I like to do business. I know it's not how you like to do business, Mr. Stovall. So those are my comments.
Okay, thank you, Councilor
Mayor,
Ballmer.
Mr. Mayor, could I just say one thing on that?
Sorry about that, Mr. Stovall. We're running quite
I
far
sucked up
behind,
all your
and,
time.
Not just you, so
Now,
you can follow up with the counselor afterwards if that will be suffice.
that'd be great.
So-
Thank you.
Sorry, and we can chat as well. So, council, we can either receive this for information, or if there's a flavor to make just a motion that we ask for a response from staff, county staff, on the expansion of Aberfoyle as a larger settlement. I would look at council for any recommendations, or if you just want to receive it for information at this time. That's, I'm comfortable with that as well, because it's given us a lot to think of. Anything for council? Not seeing anything. All right, thank you, Mr. Stovall. Mrs. Whitefox, you have, Councilor Spillis.
Yes, I'd like to suggest we move a motion, ask our staff to contact the county staff and arrange for them to come to discuss this proposal in the light of a larger proposal. And then thereafter, we can decide if we want to have a separate workshop with us and county staff to move forward. I'm just worried that if we don't start moving on this, that we will be left behind, and the county will dictate us numbers, and then we'll be stuck with having a very small increase someplace around Aberfoyle or Marston.
Perfect. Can I get a seconder for that?
Yeah, if I could, a minor propose a friendly amendment to that, I want to include in that help the county staff help us understand the hurdles of the PPS, the opportunities and the challenges presented by the policy of the provincial policy statement in terms of accommodating growth, where we actually are on that ladder, and the servicing questions.
I'm fine with that.
Okay, Ms. Whitefox, you capture that?
Yes, I did.
So did you second it as well, Councilor Ballmer, with your friendly amendment? Your second?
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Go ahead. Discussion, and if it will try and go in favor. If you're comfortable with that resolution, just some comments and say.
Yeah, I'm in favor.
Councilor Spillis, you obviously
I'm in
passed
favor.
it, but yep. Councilor Bailey, discussion.
No discussion. I'm in favor of that.
Okay. Thank you. Palmer,
Hello?
am I breaking up? Are you guys hearing me?
Yes, you're
Here
back.
you
Councilor
go, you're
Ballmer?
frozen.
Is my internet acting up?
A little bit.
Am I back yet?
Yep.
Sorry. My kids are not home. The internet's been weird here in Portland. Out to Darko. Councilor Ballmer, your comments are in favor?
Yes, I think what's the most important here is that we need to, all of council needs to be brought up to speed as to what the actual situation is. It's nice to hear from a proponent that they feel there's a shortage, but it'd be good to get a sense from the county planning department. What is the supply? What is the expected target for us? Where are we on this, so that when we make a decision, it is, as Councillor Sepula said, it's a comprehensive and thoughtful, it's part of a plan, not just trying to, onesie twosies, one-offs. So I think education is very important on this front. So yes, I'm in favor.
And I agree. We don't have municipal services, so we don't get a lot of the growth. So we can't get a project that has municipal services. So to explain it more thoroughly, and we'll get some more clarification. All right, Mr. Stovall, thank you for your time. Sorry for cutting you off, but we have a long meeting ahead of us. and sure we'll talk in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor,
I
Council.
believe we're going to go to Ivan for the parking. You're very welcome.
See you. Stay healthy.
We're gonna go, you too. I had it right here. We're going to the parking bylaw. 932. Is he available now? I know we're a little bit late, Ms. White Fox.
Yes, I'm just promoting Ivan over to a panelist now. He should be with us shortly.
Hello, Mr. Mayor, members of council.
Oh, it's nice to put a
Well,
voice and a face to it. Welcome to our team.
thank you, I appreciate it. It's a pleasure being able to meet everybody and have a couple of exciting things to present today.
Excellent.
So I heard you mention, Mr. Mayor, the first order of business would be the parking bylaw.
Yes.
So that would be report number ADM 2021-006. Township staff has been looking into a comprehensive parking review, and as part of the parking review, we've been looking at signage in specific areas that have been a problem to the municipalities in terms of illegal parking happening, and potential liabilities and risks with certain roads being narrow. Into this comprehensive review, what we've done is we've attended these roads and we've analyzed the need for no parking signage to be installed. So in report number 6, we're proposing that several new roads are added to the parking schedule E and F to permit no parking signage to be installed, as well as officially adding the municipal parking lots to Schedule D. So if I may share my screen just so we can follow through with the amendments in the bylaw, with your permission, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Trying to just pull it up on my other screen here. I'm not being rude. I got to multitask with 2 screens.
That's okay, not a problem. So I'm hoping everybody can see what I'm saying here.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So I'm going to start with Schedule D. It's the municipal parking lots. We're looking at adding in the Pustage Community Center, and as well as the municipal offices at 7404 Wellington Road 34, the Morrison Meadows Park, the Old Morrison Park, and the Badenoch Park. That's Schedule D, officially recognizing these municipal parking lots. Just as an information, Mr. Mayor, the County of Wellington is going to be introducing further amendments to the parking bylaw throughout the county, and this is to permit the municipalities to prevent timed parking at the municipal parking lots. That means that the municipal parking lots can have signage installed to prevent illegal parking that happens overnight or parking that happens over a specific time period as decided by the municipalities. And moving over to Schedule E, the existing roads that were existing in the bylaw previously are highlighted in green, and the changes are not highlighted in here. So what we're proposing is adding no parking signage into around the Starkley Hill Conservation Area, a 500 meters southwest and northeast. This is to prevent illegal parking that has been happening because the parking lot on site is not enough to accommodate the parking, and Arkle Road is quite narrow, and the staff has received a number of complaints. So we're proposing that no parking signage at any time is added on Arkle Road. And that would be the same with concession 7 from Gore Road to a point 600 meters north. And the other 3 streets in here, Curry Drive, Ling Drive, and Ock Drive, we've been having issues there with commercial vehicles being parked and left on the streets for extended period of time. So we're proposing no parking sign be installed on both sides because the roads are narrow and they are not enough to accommodate big transport trucks and other commercial vehicles. So the other changes here are McLean's Road, Niska Road, which is from Whitelaw Road to the Niska Bridge. This is another trail that we've been having issues with vehicles being left on the road and creating a traffic backlog and a potential liability. So we're proposing no parking signage to be installed there. And the other roads that are listed here are similar to that. We, I believe, Mr. Kevin Thompson and the rest of the staff has proposed these amendments as part of the comprehensive parking review. And the changes in yellow here are what was currently existing in the bylaw, and we're proposing that these be removed because specifically on Old Brook Road near Aberfoyle Public School, the no parking signage was proposed throughout the entire length of Old Brook Road, which is not sustainable for the school parking situation. So we've removed that as well as the no stopping signs on Schedule F. And what we are proposing is that no stopping signs are actually installed on Old Brook Road from Cockburn Street to its eastern limit. And this is the area where where Old Brook Road narrows down, and the residents are having issues with parents blocking both sides of the street and them not being able to come out of their driveway. So we're proposing that no stopping signs are installed on both sides of the street, and this is at any time due to the road being narrow. And I believe the road is about 6 meters, which would effectively even make it an actual fire route or fire access. The next sign here is on Old Brook Road from Brock Road South to a 0.9 meters north of the intersection. So what we propose is to install no stopping signage on and around the intersections to prevent basically the sightlines from being obstructed. And this is something that staff is proposing to be installed at any time. That way, if there's potential vehicles that are parked in that area, we're able to address them promptly. And there's a couple of changes that we've introduced here in the no stopping zones for certain times and days, and this is in and around the school time periods from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 2:30 to 3:30, and these are again around the intersections on Old Brook Road and Cockburn, to prevent parking from happening within the 9 meters of the intersection. And upon further review, after this report was created, Mr. Mayor, staff has received further complaints and issues that the parking is actually not just happening around the school periods within the intersections. It actually is a persistent issue, and in light of us being able to address the issues with parking within 9 meters of the intersection, what staff is proposing is that the last 3 items here are moved to the no stopping at any sign, anytime, And we removed the restrictions from the time restrictions and the day restrictions. That way, staff is able to address the parking within the 9 meters of the intersection.
Thank you, Ivan. Appreciate that. Yes. So I'll open it up to council. Counselor, who did we say, Goida?
Sorry, I'm here. I'm sorry. I'm trying to, I still am stuck on a shared screen.
Yeah,
Yes.
sorry, I'm just trying to figure out how to remove this.
It's okay. It's okay though. You can still hear me?
Yep, I can still hear
Oh.
you.
Okay. I don't have any questions. I know that there's been a lot of work that's gone into this, so thank you. And it's nice to be able to meet you finally and put a face to a name. But I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Councilor Spoulos,
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Councilor Bailey. Councilor Bailey.
Sorry, there you go.
Oh, no, I just don't know if it's me or not. That's all.
No, it was me. Thank you, Ivan, for your report. I actually do have a question regarding Schedule F. And I'm thinking maybe the best way is just to give you a scenario and see if it fits. In front of the school, I'm wondering on Old Brock Road, if I was to drive up in front of the school at 11 o'clock, middle of the day, and park on the west side of the road and go in and pick up my child or have a meeting with the teacher or volunteer or do whatever, would I get ticketed?
There's no, because there's no parking restriction during that time.
I want to qualify that, Ivan, with all due respect, unless they park within 9 meters of the intersection on that west side.
That's correct.
Yes.
My apologies.
Okay.
'Cause
Okay.
we just, I don't know, is there going to be a way that we can identify 9 meters? I watch a show on TV. I hate to ramble here, but it's Northwoods Law, and they have fishing restrictions, and you can't fish within 100 feet. They're obviously American, so of a dam. Well, not everybody knows how far 9 meters is. So is there any opportunity to spray paint something on the road from the measurement?
Well, what staff is proposing, Mr. Mayor, is that no stopping signage will actually be on display at all times, with an arrow pointing into the direction where parking is prohibited or
Perfect.
stopping is prohibited.
Perfect. Thank you. Councilor Bailey?
Yep, just another clarification. On Old Brock Road, on the west side, it does widen to about the width of a vehicle. So according to how this is written now, well, I guess we're getting rid of the times. You're proposing moving that up, but at 10 o'clock in the morning, can I stop on the west side and wait for my child to come out of the school if I'm picking them up?
Yes, so that would be possible as long as you're not parked within 9 meters of the intersection.
Okay, because I'm interpreting it to be that I cannot stop on Old Brock Road at any time in the day.
So that there was a prohibition for no stopping throughout the entire length of Old Brock Road, but we have proposed to remove that. So in the updated report that I shared on my screen, we proposed to strike out Old Brock Road from Wellington Road 46 to the eastern terminus. So that way that area is open for parking as long as it's not parked within 9 meters of the intersection.
Right, but this is for no stopping.
Sorry, no stopping. The only no stopping and no parking signage on display on Old Brock Road will be within 9 meters of the intersection and from Cockburn Street to the eastern limit of Old Brock Road.
During the school bus times. So the point of the bylaw is that you're going to be, well, let's talk about when you can park. You can park anytime the school buses are not running, as long as you're not within 9 meters of an intersection or down towards the heater's house where the road goes down to a goat path. So you have to stay north of Cockburn.
Yep.
And you can't be parked there when the school buses are running. So if you have a parent teacher interview after 9 a.m. and before, oh gosh, let me get this right, 2:30, you can park as long as you park properly. You can't be within 9 meters of an intersection. You probably can't be on the wrong side of the road facing the wrong way. And you can't be in the middle of the road. So you have to have that common sense. But the revisions to this is actually allowing more parking because we want to support the small businesses in the area as well. That's why we were trying to move away from total prohibition. And for parent teacher interviews, you got to pick up a sick kid, something like that. Does that help, Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, I just want to make sure you could park on the west side if needed, but definitely not on the east side.
That's correct. So the east side of I guess from Cockburn, that would be prohibited at all times.
Yeah, okay. No, I think that's great. And I just wanted to make sure that there was going to be good communication to the school principal so that they have ample time to share it with parents so that we're giving them lots of time to adapt to any of the changes.
Yep. So as part of the approval of this amendment, as soon as the amendment is approved, staff is planning to share the new signage that's going to be installed on Old Brock Road, and they'll give them ample time, I would say at least a month, for them to prepare.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Bulmer?
I'm good. Thank you, Ivan.
Thank you.
I don't know if it's staff's job or maybe my job or your job, but the only concern I have, and that is if you have a child that's maybe been injured with mobility issues or, has the school put any thought into having a spot or a process that parents will be allowed to pull up to the school and park on their property for children that have special needs? Or would we be able to accommodate that somehow? I know it's kind of late in the game, but we should at least bring it up with the principal. I'd rather them do it. I'd rather them have a little spot on their property. And then when people get mad at us, we can say, we'll call the principal and they have 2 spots for dropping off kids.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I believe this is something that school boards have practiced over time with my experience. I could definitely speak with the principal and address that just so we have everything covered. But I believe that while I was on site during a couple of visits, I have seen this being in practice.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I have nothing further. So Ms. Whitefox, you have a resolution for that one?
At revised report ADM 2021-006 regarding the proposed parking amendments to parking bylaw 5000-05 as amended be received, and that council gives 3 readings to bylaw 2021-006 being a bylaw to amend the parking bylaw 5000-05 as amended.
Thank you. Can I get a mover for that, please? Councillor Spools, seconder. Councillor Goida. All right. All in favor? Councillor Goida.
In favor.
Councillor Spools.
In favor?
Councillor Bailey.
In favor?
Councillor Bulmer.
In favor.
And I'm in favor. And sorry for doing that out of order. So you can do the complaint bylaw now. Ivan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Appreciate it. So the complaint policy has been another exciting thing that the staff has been working on over the last few months. So our department hasn't had an official policy on bylaw complaint intake, and as part of being able to formalize our approach and have a standardized treatment to all bylaw complaints, we've gone through researching a few different policies and adapting the current policy that we're proposing. I believe that's policy number 2021-002. So as part of the policy, staff has analyzed a couple different avenues. That's being that we have a standard and formal approach for the investigation of all bylaw complaints, and being able to address anonymous complaints and complaints that have a more urgent nature in mind. Something, just for an example, when we have an open excavation or a pool that's not protected, it warrants us to go out on site immediately and address that issue because it has an immediate health and safety aspect in mind. So this policy will address that, as well as the spite and vexatious complaints that we've been analyzing and receiving over the past few years, as well as provide a formal response to anonymous complaints. And I'm very confident that the way the policy is structured is going to be able to address the number of scenarios that we haven't had a standardized approach. And I'm open to hear your comments and feedback on the policy. And I'm excited to hopefully have the policy adapt.
Awesome. Thank you, Ivan. Councillor Goyda.
Thank you, and thank you very much. This, I think this is a great policy. I think it'll help to provide a consistent response to resolutions and resolutions to concerns. I think it's clear, it's simple, it's good. The only thing that I was hoping to perhaps add is there was one line in there under the definition of complaint, and it basically explaining how you would file a complaint, and it says in writing using the required form submitted to the municipality. And I was just hoping that as part of this policy, that actual required forms part of this document, so that it is clear and concise of how you file a complaint, and it's easy to find and kind of makes it one complete, easy to follow package.
Yep, that's something that staff can definitely accommodate. I believe the form comes in two different formats. One is as a PDF format, and the other one is available online through our website, and makes it easier to access for staff, especially during these unprecedented times.
Okay. And that's it. Thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Spoulos.
I'm good. Thank you very much, Ivan, for working on this.
Councillor Bailey.
Hi, Ivan. Yep, thanks again for this policy. I think it's pretty clear. I did have a couple questions. Just the wording under the purpose. So 1.2 talks about achieving compliance through education. And I'm just wondering sort of what that means, how you would do that, or what platforms we'll be using for education purposes.
Thank you, Councillor Bailey. So as part of our mandate is to achieve compliance throughout the township. So as an alternative to us being more stringent through enforcement by issuing charges, we've been given an opportunity to speak with our residents and educate them on our bylaws, and there's different formats that education is delivered. So number one, the education could be delivered over the phone and in person. So that would happen after a complaint is received. A bylaw officer would attend the property and speak with the property owner and address the complaint directly and educate the property owner if the what the bylaw currently requires, and then given opportunity to the property owner to correct that mistake. Another form of education is what we practice in writing by issuing a notice and providing the property owner specific time to comply and correct a mistake. And I think the number one focus is that education is delivered and compliance is met within, I would say, we have at least 99% of compliance. We haven't had to issue any charges. And I believe that the standardized approach to education is quite effective.
Okay, thank you. Just gonna stop this. My other question was just the wording, and maybe it's just common language. 3.7, it just says a municipal law enforcement officer may attend the site. I guess I just wasn't, I was surprised that it didn't have more stronger language, like will attend. Can you comment on that?
Absolutely, Councilor Bailey. So this is just a common language that's used within law enforcement and generation of documents. With the clause may attend gives the municipality an opportunity to analyze the complaint because complaints could come out of different natures, such as spite and vexatious complaints. And if staff believes and determines that a complaint has a vexatious nature in mind, we may not attend that complaint unless it's a immediate health and safety risk.
Okay, great. And then my last question was just on 3.9. Just wondering if there was a timeline for these.
We're talking about issuing a violation.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. So there's no specific timeline at the moment because, as you know, we do have a high volume of complaints, and these things can happen usually within 5 business days, but it may take longer. But having no specific timeline gives the municipality and the ability to attend and address the issue at a later time.
Great, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Bulmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Ivan. Excellent report. Love the policy. 2 things I particularly like about it. The spite, dealing with spite complaints, that's great. And the second is it actually indicates that staff can answer questions when residents have a question about a potential issue. It's one of the things I've had to deal with probably over the years. Not uncommon when residents, all they want to know is what the rules are, and they don't want to, before they decide if they want to make a complaint or not. And often they don't. They just want to know what the rules are, and this allows them to get that information without actually having to file a complaint. And I know it's been times in the past where previous staff has suggested, but the only option you have is to file a complaint. They wouldn't answer questions. So I'm glad it spells out the staff can answer questions about bylaws, and it just helps towards the education piece you're talking about, not just educating the people that are potentially contravening a bylaw, but also to help neighbors understand, is it really a contravention or not, and the nature of it. So thank you so much.
Should.
Great report, Ivan. And I just want to make mention, we're truly appreciative of the work you've done since joining our team. And, you put a real focus on Portland to try to get us caught up. And I know Mr. Schwendinger's been very impressed. I've been very impressed, and the dealings I've heard with you and the public has been positive. It's great work. So welcome to the team, and hopefully you stick around a little while.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Mr. Mayor.
All right. So we have a resolution, Ms. White Fox.
Yes. That report ADM-2021-005 regarding bylaw enforcement and complaint policy be received, and that council approves the proposed corporate policy 2021-002 bylaw enforcement and complaint policy in the Township of Pleasant.
Mover for that, please. Councilor Spoulos, my go-to. Seconder, Councilor Goida. All in favor? Councilor Goida.
In favor.
Councilor Spoulos.
In favor.
Councilor Bailey.
In favor.
Councilor Bulmer.
In favor.
And that's carried. Enjoy the rest of your day parenting, Ivan.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Mr. Mayor. Enjoy your
Take
day.
care.
Take
Yeah,
care.
you too. Bye-bye. All right, I believe we will be doing the Guelph Transportation Master Plan. To see is Dave one. No. So we're doing next, Ms. White Fox.
Yes, we have the City of Guelph staff here. I'll just take a moment to move them over.
Thank you. Hello, Terry, Jennifer, Stacy. Who else? Is there anyone else? That's three. And Mary, Angelo. I believe that's one of yours. Excellent. So who will be taking the lead? You can start whenever you're ready.
That would be me. Thank you, Mayor Sealy. Good morning, Mr. Mayor, councilors, and guests. My name is Jennifer Just. I'm the Manager of Transportation Planning for the City of Guelph, and I'm happy to have this opportunity this morning to provide an update for you and your constituents regarding a couple of the transportation matters you've raised in the past, including our Transportation Master Plan. So I think I can share my screen. I'll try this. And I also experience connectivity issues from time to time, Mayor Sealy. So
I understand.
Someone can tap me on the shoulder virtually if that happens and I go blank. Okay, you should be able to see my screen now.
Not quite yet, but
Is that showing up for everyone?
not yet.
Oh, I have to click.
There we go.
Here we go. Okay. Okay, so some of the concerns that we've heard expressed by the Township of Pleasant, either through correspondence or through our engagement efforts, include some of the truck traffic infiltration from Guelph southward towards the 401 through Pleasant Township, as well as projected vehicle volumes anticipated through either provincial growth targets that we're trying to model or the Claremont Secondary Plan efforts. And there's a general interest to understand how this Transportation Master Plan will address some of those concerns. And you're also interested in an update on the Claremont Secondary Plan. So I'll take the lead and talk about the Transportation Master Plan project. And at the end, I'll pass it over to my colleague, Stacey Laughlin, to discuss the Claremont Secondary Plan. So briefly, I'll give you an overview of what we've been up to date. This project did launch as a municipal class environmental assessment in 2019. And in the last year and a bit, we've done quite a bit of community engagement, particularly around identifying problems and issues in transportation in Guelph and confirming our vision, values, and goals for this study. So we have established a goal, a vision rather, that transportation in Guelph will be safe, equitable, sustainable, complete, affordable, and supportive of land use. And this vision is reflective of course, as I mentioned, the engagement we've done, but it also is very tightly aligned with our strategic plan. We have a pillar called Navigating Our Future, which sets out our vision for transportation for the next 4 years. And it's also very closely aligned with the existing policies in our official plan and the community plan that we did in 2018, And lastly, it's reflective of the Community Energy Initiative targets as well, which sets out a goal of being a net carbon neutral community by 2051. So most recently, we've been doing a back-to-back double round of engagement to confirm the problem statements and present some of the background information that has informed the development of our draft alternative solutions. And that was concluded in December of last year. And then this winter, we've just done our next round of engagement to refine the alternative solutions and land on a preliminary preferred solution to this master plan that will be presented in May. So just to give you a bit of a background context on the direction we're headed, as I mentioned, this is really emphasizing the sustainability component to transportation. We do have aggressive growth targets set by the province for the city of Guelph to accommodate in terms of population and employment growth to 2051. And we have to figure out how the transportation network will accommodate that growth moving forward. And it's clear from our community that sustainability is important, and we don't necessarily want to grow our road network to look like some of our colleagues perhaps in the GTA area. We want to stay to smaller right-of-way widths and have more of a reasonable, walkable, transit-friendly community. So our mode share targets that we are proposing for the 2051 planning horizon are being reduced from the current mode share target of auto trips at 67%, or reducing that further to 60%. And most of that change in mode share is coming from cycling trips within our community. We have identified an opportunity for more trips to be made by bike if the supportive infrastructure and policies and programs are there. There's no change to our mode share targets for transit trips or walking trips. And so the result is that decrease in the auto trips from 67% by 2031 in our current official plan to 60%. And we've set out a bit of a roadmap, if you will, pardon the pun, of how those mode share targets will be adjusted decade by decade as we move towards 2051. So this first graph here shows our existing mode share split as per the 2016 Transportation Tomorrow survey, where you can see quite a lot of our current daily trips of travel are made by a private car. It's contributing to congestion and delay, and this plan is laying out an opportunity for a new vision of how we want to address that growth in traffic in our community through sustainable modes of transportation. I wanted to point out that the transportation master plan we're working on is a very high level policy direction, again, to accommodate the provincial population and employment growth targets to 2051 in alignment with the goals and policy decisions that have already been made by council and community to date. So it is conceptual and visionary in order to address the various goals that we've set out. And one of the ways we've done that is by setting a number of priority networks, which if you were to visit our virtual open house, which is still live on our website, guelph.ca/TMP, you can see those priority networks laid out for each mode of transportation. And we've taken those different priority mode networks and developed a series of alternative networks that we are evaluating for the preferred preliminary solution. So the 4 networks that we established are the do nothing alternative, which is traditional for an environmental assessment. This assumes that we stay with the infrastructure improvements currently identified in our current official plan, and we do not propose any further projects or changes. Alternative 2 takes a purely sustainability focus, really trying to achieve that mode shift quickly. And the only areas where we're proposing any road widening to our road network system is to accommodate quality transit network and or our cycling spine network. Alternative 3 then builds on that with the resiliency lens and protects a couple of other road corridors that are currently a 2-lane arterial road network, looking to expand them to a potential 4-lane arterial road network. And that's to protect for unforeseen changes in travel behaviors, changes in technologies, changes in how we use our road space, just to give us the flexibility to adapt and respond. And finally, we evaluated an alternative 4, which is more of a car focus, more of a traditional transportation master plan approach, where we're looking to project, ultimate conservative vehicular volumes out to 2051 and just identify where the network is going to need to be widened to accommodate primarily car congestion. So this is what our alternative 2 network would look like. It shows the red cycling spine, which is our all ages and abilities core cycling network within the road right of way. It shows a series of corridors to create a quality transit network. Some of the existing 2-lane arterial roadways would need to be widened to accommodate that quality transit network, including Victoria Road, north of Clare, and a couple of other locations in the city, such as College. And what's not shown, but will be shown in the final report, is that it will also indicate optimization of the Hanlon Expressway, and that's referring to continued advocacy and partnership with MTO to facilitate the grade separation of our interchanges in the community. The alternative 3 road network builds on that and adds some road widening locations to accommodate the resiliency component. So that includes the Maltby Road across the breadth of the City of Guelph boundary. This is consistent with what's also currently shown in the Clare Maltby secondary plan, which indicates that all arterial road cross sections in that area have a vision to be a 4-lane arterial road. It also includes Arkle Road, all of Watson Parkway, Speedvale extending into the township and county, and Elmira Road. So we've done a preliminary evaluation of alternatives that will be presented in May. And according to the goals of this project and our criteria set out through the environmental assessment process, alternative 1, do nothing, does not meet the goals of this initiative, and neither does alternative 4. So we're left with alternatives 2 and 3 and are currently assessing the feedback and technical data to land on which of those will be our preferred solution for May. So in terms of the concerns around traffic congestion and volume of traffic heading south into the township, I think this plan is not proposing to anticipate high growth in car traffic. We're really trying to achieve that mode shift towards sustainable modes of transportation. And there's going to be policy recommendations in there as well to continue advocating for interregional transit opportunities, including those that are being explored currently by Metrolinx, the 2-way all-day go, interregional transit, and also the initiatives that are being implemented either by the City of Guelph public transit system or through our partners in the county and the region of Waterloo. It is looking at widening existing 2-lane arterial roads, including Maltby Road, which is our boundary with yourselves. But again, I just want to reemphasize that this is primarily to address sustainable modes of transportation first. It's not intended to accommodate the growth in general vehicular traffic. And both of the alternatives we're currently exploring continue the advocacy piece and support of the MTO projects to improve the Hanlon Expressway, improve the connections to the Highway 7 in the north, as well as interchanges to the south with the 401. I know that goods movement was also an area of interest to the township, particularly with respect to the goods movement network. So if you were to look at our virtual open house materials, we do have a goods priority network identified there. It shows our existing permissive truck route from the current official plan. And we are not proposing any specific changes to that through this exercise because it just requires additional further study. So the recommendation of the Transportation Master Plan will be to do a goods movement strategy that revises the existing truck routes, the policies that support it, and the bylaw structure. In terms of what's next, we will be bringing forward our findings on May 3rd to our council for approval of the preliminary preferred solution. And this allows us to move ahead with our next phase, which is the implementation strategy. There will be another round of engagement throughout that body of work. And our hope is to bring this forward for final approval in December of this year. And so now I'll leave it there and I'll pass it on to my colleague, Stacey. Let me stop sharing.
Thanks, Jen. And I will share my screen. There we go. Is everybody seeing my screen there? Okay. Good morning, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I'm Stacy Laughlin, and I'm co-project managing the Clare Maltby Secondary Plan. Planning and engineering are leading this project together with input from most of the other city departments. We have been working on this project for approximately 5 years, and we have presented to this council on a few occasions at key points in the project. Just a second. There we go. So the last time we were here followed the approval of the preferred community structure by Guelph City Council, and the preferred community structure is the preferred concept plan as well as the policy directions document, and they were approved by Guelph City Council in May of 2019. It was also at that time that we began the open space system strategy for the secondary plan area. So since it's been some time, here is the preferred community structure that was endorsed by council at that time. It continues to focus density on the Gordon Street corridor to support transit along Gordon. It also encourages medium density residential along our proposed collector roads. And that allows for lower density residential to be in the interior portions of neighborhoods. The urban rural transition area continues to be proposed along Maltby Road and along Victoria. And really the intent of that is to ensure that there is an appropriate transition from urban development in the city to towards the township. As you can see, the majority of the area bordering the township is proposed to be low density residential. In addition to this, the urban rural transition area is proposed to be 60 meters in depth, and the building height in that area would be limited to a maximum of 3 stories. We are also going to encourage increased setbacks from both Maltby Road and Victoria Road in the transition area. And finally, we continue to propose the Green Gateway into the city right here at Gordon and Maltby. So as I said, the last time we were here was in June of 2019. At that time, we had presented the approved community structure, so that map that I just showed you, and highlighted how the township's comments on the draft policy directions and the draft concept plan were addressed. It was also in June of 2019 that we provided a letter to the township from our consulting team addressing concerns raised by the township's hydrogeologist. For the remainder of 2019, we worked on the open space system for the Clare Maltby Secondary Plan with public engagement occurring in the fall. The open space system strategy was presented to Guelph's Committee of the Whole in March of 2020, with council approving it in May of 2020. And the delay of between those 2 meetings was because of the beginning of the pandemic. So the open space system strategy that was approved by council looks like this. It includes a 10 hectare community park. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor, but it's up here in this area, dark green on the plan. It also includes 8 neighborhood parks, which are approximately 1 hectare in size each. And then it includes the Moraine Ribbon, which is a linear park system along the natural heritage system. We also proposed that our stormwater capture areas or stormwater management areas, which we anticipate will be mostly dry, will be used for recreation purposes where feasible and possible. So together, the open space system strategy and the preferred concept, as well as the policy directions documents, those all inform the development of the draft secondary plan and finalizing the MESP. So that is currently where we're at with the project. We are working with our consultant teams to prepare those draft documents. We anticipate that we'll release those documents. There'll be a public open house as well as PIC number 3 for the project, followed by a statutory public meeting. We also anticipate that there will be need for additional engagement and stakeholder meetings to inform changes to the drafts. And then we'll take all of that information back for consideration and revise and finalize the documents and then present them to Guelph City Council for approval. And that's all we have for you on Clare Maltby at this time. So I will stop sharing my screen. There you go.
Okay, thank you for the presentations. What I'm going to say to council is let's deal with the transportation master plan first, and then we'll circle back with Stacy and do the Clare Maltby. I'm going to go first. I've made some notes. So I guess my questions will be directed towards Jennifer. And I'm just curious what the goal and purpose of the Transportation Master Plan is, and why it doesn't take into consideration traffic originating in Guelph and leaving, and also why trucks are being excluded to a future time, because those are some pretty significant impacts on our community, and we'd prefer to see them included in the study.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Seeley. The study, the data that we're using in our Transportation Master Plan is including the GTAH and Region of Waterloo traffic zones in our modeling assessments. So it is looking at trips external to the city of Guelph as well as within the city of Guelph. For the purposes of setting mode share targets, what we're currently presenting are only trips that are internal to the city of Guelph, because that's what we have the most control to influence and impact through our design and infrastructure improvements. However, the final report will talk to interregional travel trends as well. With respect to your question about the goods movement strategy, it was just outside of the scope of work for this level of a transportation master plan. It would have required quite a deep dive into truck routes and data collection and policies, existing policies, and really requires a standalone study to do the appropriate quality of work to assess what changes need to be made, if any. So that will be a recommended outcome of, once this is approved, it will be on the work plan for future work.
Okay. What is incorporated into this study plan to divert traffic from Victoria and Gordon to the Hanlon as Guelph grows over the next 30 years? So I had a meeting with the Ward 6 representatives, and because I've been reading in the paper that there was some desire to direct more traffic to Victoria Road, and that's not an ideal situation for us, specifically if it's heavy truck. There's a pond down there that they can barely keep a guardrail up because everybody drives through it in the winter, and adding more traffic is a concern. And we have residents already upset with the speeding, and just to put more traffic down there is not ideal for Puslinch. So I did make note here that you're going to look for upgrades to the Hanlon, but and improvements, but the improvements are only situated around removing stoplights and having interchanges for traffic within the boundary. But I'm not hearing any indication of, again, even car traffic, trying to push it to where, in my mind, it belongs is on that Hanlon and not Victoria Road and not Gordon through our hamlets.
Through you, Mayor Seeley, I think what you're looking for, and I could be wrong, but I'm understanding a sort of almost a traffic calming approach to make it inconvenient for traffic to use Victoria Road into the county, into the township, and similarly for Gordon Street south of Guelph. And I think what this plan is envisioning is in a way is that we are looking to overlap some of these priority networks and design cross sections that would reflect that we are prioritizing transit and active transportation over vehicular travel. And it will by default make travel by car slightly less convenient in town, and will encourage people to want to take the more efficient route, which would be the Hanlon Expressway. The challenge right now with the Hanlon is that those stoplights are an inconvenience. They're not very well timed or coordinated. People get frustrated. It's actually faster for them to use existing in-city routes at this time. And that's part of our ongoing conversations with MTO, just working together with them on their plans and designs and their timing to the best that we can to encourage those interchanges to move forward. So I think you're aware that there is some conversation happening upcoming this spring with related to the Highway 6 and 401 interchange. So we'll be part of those conversations as well. And we have a great relationship we're building up with MTO and Metrolinx around these more interregional pieces. And again, to your point, trying to get people using the appropriate road network choices to get around, and B, looking to shift those modes where possible to sustainable modes such as train and bus.
Okay. So I'm going to give you some indication of what I'm working at the county level. We're working towards electronic speed enforcement around community safety zones. And you may be aware that community safety zones typically have a school. Well, Aberfoyle has a school, and Brock Road goes through there with, I don't know what the number is, 26,000 cars a day. And a population of 7,500 in Puslinch, pretty easy math shows it's not, the majority are not Puslinch people traveling through Aberfoyle. So there is appetite around the county council to get these community safety zones implemented. Then there's a core group of us that are pushing hard to get the electronic speed enforcement. And that's going to be my method of creating an inconvenience for people to come, in mass and just whip through our hamlet. And the other component is the widening of Brock Road north of 34. I will not support that initiative. I will do everything within my ability to ensure that because I'm not going to facilitate more traffic coming from the Clare Maltby extension. I'm being frank, and I'm not here to hide anything. And I will do what it takes to try to return Aberfoyle to, I wouldn't say a destination. I don't know if it'll ever be a destination, but at least somewhere where people can shop and enjoy. We just reconstructed it. We have sidewalks. I see more people walking on those sidewalks. We put one in front of our school. So now the intent, I don't know if you were on the call earlier, but we passed a parking bylaw that's now going to restrict school drop off and pickup, which is not unusual in the city of Guelph. My kids go to Fred A. Hamilton and we can't park at the school. And so we're going to have more parents and children crossing Brock Road. And so to ensure and to do my part, and we'll see what council's support is, to make it a safer hamlet. And that safer hamlet means less truck traffic, means less vehicular traffic. And those are the two initiatives I see will be not easily, but should be able to be implemented, if not this term, for sure next term. So I'll open it up to council at this point. And Councillor Guida.
Thanks very much. Thank you for coming and presenting today. And thank you to Mayor Sealy. You've done a really good job, I think, of expressing any concerns that I may have wanted to bring up today as well. I just wanted to talk about this inter community travel just for 1 second. I did take a look at the dedicated page on the City of Guelph website about the transportation master plan, and it does say on there that as part of the plan, the city will make transportation planning even more integrated with other city plans. And I just wanted to point out that the County of Wellington is currently working on a county roads master action plan, and the Township of Puslinch is also undertaking a transportation master plan this year. And I'm wondering if there is any opportunity to provide for the coordinating or discussion among, all three of those groups to put heads together on ideas of how to integrate this sort of interregional travel and perhaps work in some mechanisms to address some of these issues that Mayor Sealy has been speaking about.
Through you, Councillor Guida. Yes, absolutely. We are part of the technical or a municipal working group. I'm not sure the exact term for the county's transportation road action plan. And we're happy to work with the Township of Puslinch on your emerging transportation master plans as well. And I think there's always benefit and value added when we can align and work together and make sure that, decisions and plans that we're doing in Guelph are well integrated with what you have planned for the county south of us or surrounding us. So we have staff that are dedicated to doing that collaborative work and participating in those studies.
Sure, Terry.
Thank you, Mayor Sealy. And just to add to that, it goes both ways. So I'd just like to highlight that staff from the township and staff from Wellington County have also been involved in our process as well. And so we're continuing to work hard with them and be collaborative on improving the communications piece and getting their feedback built into our work as well. So that's part of the ongoing process through this transportation master plan. That two-way dialogue is built into ours as well.
Yeah, I just want to point out that there's a culture at the county is lanes that they took from down Brock Road. So There is a culture now up at the county council that, hamlets are important, communities are important, and that's why things change. But I agree, there is communication both ways. Councilor Goy, do you have more questions?
No, thank you.
Okay. Councilor Spos?
Yes, I noticed that your modal split, you're looking at reducing the traffic from 80% to 60% from year 2016 to 2051. In terms of absolute numbers, do you have a handle on that? Like, what does 80% in 2016 mean in terms of number of car trips versus the 60% in 2051?
I don't have those numbers at my fingertips, but I'd be happy to follow up with the council and provide those numbers following this meeting.
I just want to get a feel, is it more or less the same? In other words, what you see today, traffic-wise, that's what you're trying to achieve by 2051, or you're assuming some sort of growth?
Again, I'll have to just confirm the numbers and provide that response to you. I'm not sure at the top of my head.
Okay.
My mind is not a mind for numbers.
I'm unfortunately an engineer, so I have a mind for numbers.
He's our numbers guy.
Okay, Gordon Road, the road widening, you mentioned that you're going to be widening Gordon Road for transit. This is from Clare Road south to Maltby.
So it's identified in the transportation master plan as an opportunity to widen it to 4 lanes from 2 lanes in order to accommodate the quality transit network. It's also consistent with the road network shown in the Clare Maltby secondary plan, which is identifying it as sort of like a main spine to accommodate transit, support transit oriented development, and really create that transition into an urban environment. So both of those plans are showing a 4-lane cross section.
Okay. Will there be dedicated bus lanes? In other words, the 2 extra lanes will be strictly for buses, or will be buses only in certain hours of the day and then traffic the rest of the time?
So the vision in for the quality transit network talks about a staged approach. So it's based on ridership and demand and opportunity for enhancing those services as they arise. So we need to protect in the right of way to allow for a dedicated lane if that is the ultimate goal we're working towards. That would be determined through the detailed transit master plan. The intention is to go from a lane conversion that could be, for example, mixed traffic at certain times of the day, but dedicated transit at the peak periods for transit. And then as demand grows, could become a full-time dedicated transit lane or even bus rapid transit. So it's really, the TMP is really just about protecting the potential to take that space in future. And then determining the details and the operational mechanisms through the transit master plan.
So you're protecting for 4 lanes or 6 lanes?
4 lanes.
4 lanes. Okay, Victoria Road, north of Clare Road, you mentioned also you'd be widening it. Again, are you looking to a 4-lane width through there as well for the same logic as you mentioned on Gordon?
That's correct. Yeah, there's nowhere in the city of Guelph where we're proposing anything more than 4 lanes.
Okay, in terms of property takes to achieve that on the Victoria Road, if you analyze, would you be taking the property takes?
No, so that would be subject to a future environmental assessment study. This is the TMP kind of flags the areas, the corridors that we want to protect for widening. And that would go into a schedule of the official plan when we update the official plan, but it would be subject to an environmental study before we do any actual property acquisition or detailed design work.
Okay, great, thank you very much.
Councilor Bailey, where should you go?
Yep. I'm here, thank you. Thanks, Jennifer, for being here today. Just because this is my first time involved with this topic, I just want to acknowledge too my concern with the traffic coming down through Aberfoyle, and I would love to see some sort of way that we could be getting the traffic out toward the Hanlon and using that bypass kind of system. So I just wanted to let you know where I stand on that as well. You did mention earlier the goods movement strategy, and I've just written down, when is that happening? I think you just said in the future, but I'm not too clear when that's supposed to be happening. Do you have any information?
So we plan on getting approval for the full transportation master plan in December of this year, and that final phase will include the implementation strategy. And we anticipate that will have some sort of prioritization of what initiatives need to happen first and approximate dates for that work. So this time I don't have a date for when that would happen.
Okay. And then I guess I just have a smaller detail question, but in your proposed mode share, I wrote this down somewhere. Anyway, it talks about, and it's great to see the percentage of the cars decreasing, increasing the cycling. But what happens in the winter? What happens to those statistics in the winter time? Because not everyone's going to be not everyone's going to be cycling as much in the winter.
Yeah, that's a common perception that we live in Canada and people can't cycle all year round. There's quite a number of studies that refute that from other northern countries in the world. I'm not going to argue the facts, though. I think the reality is that a lot of studies also show that if people do switch, they often switch between transit and active transportation. There can be some moderate increase in vehicular trips during the coldest winter months. That's to be expected, but it wouldn't be enough for us to justify any significant changes in our infrastructure investments.
I think that's good for me now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, councillors. Just a couple last comments / questions. So in a hypothetical world, sorry, Councillor, go ahead. Councillor Balmer, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
I'm just anxious. Sorry.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much for the information so far. This is good. I have a couple of questions. You mentioned about interregional. We've talked about modal mix. And I guess I was hoping to hear something more about, a little bit more about the interregional, because as you've heard, we are deeply connected, the south end of Guelph and our hamlet in Morriston and our industrial parks. You know, we're very close, and I'm trying to think of a way that we can connect some of these dots together. For example, you talked about interregional transit and a transit plan, which is going to be separate, but and you've talked about dedicated bus lanes coming down Gordon. Is it going to be the transportation master plan or the transit master plan that will possibly look at bringing that bus down all the way to the 401 through the hamlet to our industrial parks? I've heard from the people in our industrial park before how much they'd like to have transit there. Now they're lucky, some people with the GO station there now are able to take the GO from Guelph to get down there and walk to work. But I also look at other connection opportunities. You talk about cycling, and there's a great opportunity for cycling to come either down Gordon or even down Victoria Road and connect into the GO station off of Victoria. These are the interconnections that I think are important to help, that we can also have a role in reducing the demand for car traffic to achieve the goal we're talking about in Aberfoyle in terms of reducing the drive through, because I share the mayor's concern on Aberfoyle. So I just wondered, where can we contribute, or how do we contribute to those connections that extend outside the city if we think they might be some value to us to reduce car traffic through our community?
Through you, Councillor Belmer, very good questions. So this transportation master plan, as I mentioned earlier, is very high level. So we're just giving high level policy directions for future studies and for infrastructure planning in the long term. I know that Guelph Transit is actively looking at opportunities for interregional connections. COVID has obviously impacted that significantly with a decrease in ridership. So it's a little bit on pause, but I can't speak on behalf of Guelph Transit, but I know that is something they continue to explore. The other opportunity is to continue your participation as we are with the ministry's Metrolinx and MTO regional planning activities, just continuing to advocate and speak up for those connections and the vision that you have for your community as we have been doing. We're on a couple of different working groups, such as the Regional Transportation Plan Working Group for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. We've also been involved in the Southwestern Ontario RTP, and we're constantly raising these ideas and this interest in supporting more sustainable interregional travel, and also supporting the Hanlon, the Morriston bypass, the Highway 7 interchange as opportunities to move that traffic off of our local road systems as well, and make sure that it's a system that functions properly. I believe there was another component to your question I was going to try to answer, and it has slipped my mind. I apologize.
That's good. That there are, you've identified one of my misunderstandings there is how high level this particular study is, and there'll be other opportunities to continue to look at extension of the bus line, interconnection of cycling routes and those sorts of things. Just one last thing. You mentioned several times about the Hanlon and trying to get more traffic on the Hanlon. One of the things that I'm concerned about is the intersection of Maltby and Gordon. And I know this is a high level study, but in addition to talking about modal mix and moving people around, I'm also concerned about safety. And we continue to have fatal accidents at the corner of Maltby and Gordon. And as much as I would love to get more traffic in the future going across Maltby to the Hanlon, what's the city's plans to make that intersection safer? Would you consider making it a roundabout like the county has been doing through the rest of Aberfoyle?
So if you are referring to the intersection of Gordon and Maltby Road, the Clare Maltby Secondary Plan Transportation Study does identify level of service concerns in the future for that intersection and to explore signalization or a roundabout. So that is kind of flagged in there for further study. And I believe MTO's current plans are to close the access at Maltby Road and the Hanlon in future. And that's part of their south connection, looking at the Hanlon improvements to the south of Laird Road. I'm not sure how far north it extends. So opportunities to connect through the upcoming 401 Highway 6 interchange would be an opportunity to raise those concerns, perhaps with the MTO team. The other thing I remembered what I wanted to say earlier was that Metrolinx is currently working on their 10-year bus priority network. And they are looking at a short list of interregional bus connection routes, including south to Hamilton, eastward towards Mississauga and elsewhere. So that would maybe be another opportunity to connect in with those groups and share your interest in continuing to support interregional transit.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I brings up a concern. So you mentioned about the possible laning Victoria Road, and is that with the assumption that Puslinch would 4-lane it from their border down to the county infrastructure? Because the tight budget constraints that we operate under, we're struggling to fund a gravel roads upgrade and paving program, never mind a full reconstruction of a road to twice the capacity. So if Puslinch doesn't, if Victoria Road gets 4-laned on your end, it ends up at the pond. I shouldn't call it a pond because it's not a pond, it's a Kettle Lake, but it's smaller. Then all the traffic's going to end up going west over towards Brock Road, and in the future the MTO closes the Maltby interchange at 401. It would have to go south on concession 7. So ultimately it's gonna make a kerfuffle. So if this is high level, now I understand this is a higher level, presentation and start to a program. I would encourage you as staff to look into Puslinch's ability to make upgrades on their infrastructure on their side. Oh, there goes my internet. Hope I'm not breaking up. Am I back yet?
I can still hear you.
Can you guys hear me? Yes.
Yeah, we
okay.
can hear you.
And one final point is, I did bring up in the interim, the expansion of the heavy truck restriction on Gordon out to Maltby Road. Maltby Road West is identified as a truck route currently. And I just don't see the need for trucks that come up through Aberfoyle have to turn either left towards the Hanlon. I guess they could go right towards Victoria Road, but if it's at the hours of the day when people are home, which is my understanding of why there's a restriction through Guelph, it's when people are home, couldn't be extended out to Maltby, so that maybe we could start creating that habit of getting the transport trucks to come up the Hanlon. They could then traverse across Clare if they had to go to Victoria Road, or they could go right up to Woodlawn, where these are significant infrastructure. So those are just my last comments. I'll now open it up to council for the Clare Maltby extension. We'll try not to keep you too much longer. And council, we'll have a quick break after we finish this round of discussions. Councillor Goyda.
Thank you. I don't necessarily have any questions about the Clare Maltby, specifically what was presented today, but I am just curious as to at what point in the process that we might see sort of a clearer picture of what that transition area along Maltby and Victoria will look like in terms of like the infrastructure planning for that.
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr. Mayor. The next point of, I guess, additional clarification would be when we release the draft policies. So the draft policies would be circulated to the township and the county for review and comment, and they'll provide as much detail as the Clare Maltby secondary plan would get into in terms of what that urban rural transition area would look like. In the directions document, I think I highlighted most of the things that we've talked about. So it's a minimum of 60 meters in depth. The maximum building height is proposed to be 3 stories. We would be encouraging increased setbacks. We would also be discouraging driveways directly accessing those arterial roads. So that's the direction that we have right now. And then we would be sort of developing those into more detailed policies through the draft secondary plan.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Spoulos.
Yeah, 2 quick questions. I just wanted a confirmation, the 60 meter transition zone, that occurs at Gordon and Maltby as well?
Right, so the full length of Maltby Road across the entire city where or the entire secondary plan area.
Okay. And you mentioned your third pick. When do you anticipate that to happen?
We are currently working on timing right now. So depending on when those draft documents are ready to be released, we would release those, and then we would have our public open house and our pick at the same time. So I don't have exact timing for you, but we anticipate sort of sometime mid-year, I hope.
Okay, that's fine. That's close enough for us right now. Thank you.
Welcome.
Councillor Bailey.
No, that was my question, is when do you anticipate the public open house to be planned for? So we're thinking mid-year of this year.
That's our current goal, yes.
Okay. No questions, thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Ballmer.
Thank you. I'd like to compliment the city in doing as much as they have been doing to try and protect the form and function of the moraine in the Clare Maltby secondary plan, even though the city's water supply is not dependent on the function of the moraine in that area. Our residents are, and municipalities, downstream of the moraine certainly benefit from that, the function of the moraine there. So thank you for that. One concern I have, it relates to the traffic issue, is that I'm concerned that this idea of 4-laning Victoria Road and dumping it, just ending it at Maltby, creates a dumping. It's connecting an arterial road to a local road, one of our local roads, as opposed to, as the mayor talked about, then the pressure comes for us to connect it to County Road 34, another arterial road. I'm kind of disappointed that there isn't a plan to have that arterial road somehow make its way through the Clare Maltby secondary plan to reconnect and direct traffic to the Hanlon, as you talk about wanting to optimize the Hanlon with the new interchange that's going to be there to replace just south of Maltby Road. I know it's difficult to do both, build roads and protect the moraine. But my concern, having seen these two issues together, is now that we're going to have that 4-lane dumping on, not quite at the end of Victoria Road, but it'll cause traffic burdens on our Maltby Road, our Watson Road, our Victoria Road. So I expect at this stage of the game, there's nothing you can do to change that intersection to direct traffic to the west, but if there were, that would be greatly appreciated.
What I can do is take that back to our mobility consultants and see if there's anything that can happen there, or phasing or staging or anything like that. So I can take that concern back to our mobility consultants.
Thank you so much.
Jennifer? Go ahead, Jennifer.
Yeah, if I could add to that too, I wasn't able to respond to Mayor Seely's concerns similarly of Victoria Road widening. I just wanted to clarify that the current transportation master plan envisions the widening starting at Clare Road and going north, not all the way down to Maltby. So we don't anticipate there being a 4-lane cross section on Victoria Road south of Clare, if that helps clarify anything.
Yes, thank you. I'm glad to see that the transition zone is, still in the planning stages, and I look forward to future reports as to that gets nailed down a little bit more concrete. I don't think there's anything else. I appreciate your time today. I don't know, Terry, we didn't call on you too much, but if there was it Mary? You guys have any quick comments before we let you loose? No? Okay.
I may just say one quick thing. Just thank you for the opportunity to come and to have our staff present some of this information to yourselves. We appreciate as well the sort of relationship building side that we've seen from counties and township staff through our project and through the Wellington County RMAP as well. So looking forward to continuing working together as we move these initiatives forward.
Perfect. Thank you. Ms. Whitefox, you have that resolution?
The council received the City of Guelph presentation regarding the Transportation Master Plan and the Clare Maltby update for information.
Thank you. You'll move for that, please. Always Sapoulis. Councillor Sapoulis, Councillor Bailey, second. All in favor, Councillor Goyda,
In favor.
Councillor Sapoulis,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey,
In favor.
Councillor Bulmer,
In favor.
and that's passed. And Jennifer, I just want to remind you, Councillor Sapoulis was just looking for those numbers. The percentage increase, you said you might follow up with them. We didn't include that in the resolution because you're not our staff, but we appreciate that if you could get that to him. Thank you. All right, enjoy the rest of your day. Council, we're going to take a 20 minutes long enough, 25 minutes break, but too long. Need a quick sandwich, something. Do water? I'll say 20 minutes. We'll get back here at 3:32. 12:32 wrong time. Okay. Going. All right, welcome back. So I'll start with a roll call. Councillor Goyda.
Present.
Councillor Spoulos.
Present?
Councillor Bailey.
Present.
Councillor Bulmer.
Present.
And I am here, obviously. All right, so let's read that resolution for the consent agenda, please.
So the consent agenda items listed for the February 10th, 2021 council meeting be received for information. I did not include any to be excluded at this point.
Okay, can I get a mover for that first, please? Councillor Bailey, seconded by Councillor Sapoulis. Anyone want to remove items? Councillor Goyda.
No, sorry, I don't need to remove any.
Okay, Councillor Spoulos.
Yes, 620, the census of population. 623, County Wellington response to the SWIFT position request. And 624, news release, Lake Erie Source Protection Regional Public Comments, etc.
Councillor Bailey, any items?
Nope. No, none for me.
Councillor Bulmer?
No, thank you.
All right, so can we receive those ones other than the ones Councillor Spoulos recommended, Ms. White Fox?
Yes, so the consent agenda items with the exception of items 6.20, 6.23, and 6.24 listed for the February 10th, 2021 council meeting be received for information.
The two movers and the mover and second are comfortable with still moving that? I assume so. All in favor, Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey,
In favor?
and Councillor Balmer.
In favor.
All right, and the floor is yours, Councillor Spoulos. You just,
Okay,
Sure.
620 is the census of population. I suggesting that we include the motion that was provided in the letter, that we as council support the census taking and encourage all residents to fill out the questionnaire online.
hey, can I get a seconder for that, please?
Sure.
Councillor Goida. Comments, Councillor Goida.
Yeah, I would support that.
Actually, before I'll come back to you, Councillor Goida. Councillor Spoulos and staff, is there value in putting a reminder or of this in a tax bill so that the residents actually get that we feel it's important they participate? How are we going to reach them other than just passing a resolution?
We can put something on our website, but yes, we will add that to the list. Normally, we compile a list of items that we put in a tax bill and then see what we can fit in once we get the total list based on the space available. So we'll add this for a list of items to consider for doing that for sure.
Councillor Spoulos, you're comfortable with that?
Absolutely, good idea.
Okay, so Councillor Goida, back to you. So the new change?
Yep.
Yeah. Councillor Spoulos, I just asked you, but for procedure, you're comfortable with that? Yeah. Councillor Bailey?
Yep. I'm also wondering, can we use our sign for this purpose as well?
Staff? Am I cutting out? Me or her?
So she cut out a little bit there. Is she referring to
Sign.
the sign at the PCC?
Mhm.
Yes, sure. We could do that as well.
Councillor Ballmer?
In favor.
All right, so that's good for 6.20. Oh, do we need a resolution? Oh, so that's fast. Okay, so next one, John, sorry, Councillor Spoulos, 6.23.
Yes, we received a letter from the county. I was wondering, Mayor, if you can characterize how it was received at council. I know we're all disappointed we didn't get the funding we wanted, but I just want to understand what the logic was.
Honestly, Councillor Spoulos, I believe COVID-19 played a significant role. All committees have been given direction to try to help find a reduction in the budget of a total of essentially $1 million. So spending additional funds was just not in the cards this year. There's also a feeling that as a county as a whole, they're working together for broadband, and they're not necessarily omitting Puslinch. And I think that's why that invitation to the update from Mayor Bridge is there. I think he's going to have some new information for us, hopefully, and hopefully it's applicable to us. So I would knock this up as a COVID casualty for the most part, Councillor Spoulos.
Thank you. Okay, and the item 624 is the Lake Erie Source Protection Plan. It's available. The plan is available for review on the website, as noted in the news release. And also there is a webinar a week from today to do with the impact that the Cambridge water supplies are having on certain areas of our township, predominantly the west part. The affected homeowners have been notified, but certainly that's something that anybody is inclined to look at. There is a webinar, it's dated, and it's on the 17th.
Okay, thank you for highlighting that, Councillor Spoulos. Miss, anything further on that? Did you need a motion or a resolution, Mr. Hoyfox or Councillor Spoulos? No.
No,
All right,
that's
so
more information, yeah.
okay, Ms. Whitefox, if you could just, sorry.
For the record, yeah, we'll need a resolution for both of those just to receive them for information.
Yep. So Ms. Whitefox, should read a resolution for those two, please?
Yes, that consent agenda items 6.23 and 6.24 listed for the February 10th, 2021 council meeting be received for information.
Perfect. Mover, please.
Move it.
Councillor Spoulos, seconded by Councillor Ballmer.
Okay,
Awesome. All in favor, Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey,
In favor?
Councillor Ballmer.
in favor.
All right, that's carried. I believe we are on to finance. So what, I spoke with Ms. Hassan earlier and the CAO. We're just gonna do 922, 923, and then circle back to approve the budget just in case there's any changes or concerns from council. So I'm gonna hand the floor over to Ms. Hassan to go through those reports. Are we ready, Ms.
Okay.
Hassan?
Thanks, Mayor Lever. So,
Lever?
oh my gosh,
Who's that guy?
that was terrible. Sorry, Mr. Seeley.
Okay.
Mr., not mayor.
So the 2020 completed capital projects is item number 9.22. And so this is an annual report that we provide to council prior to budget approval, which basically outlines 2020 completed capital projects. And some of these projects include projects that were approved in previous year budgets as well. And it also includes which projects are being carried forward to 2021 because they're not complete as of December 31st, 2020. So I'd welcome any questions from council at this point.
Okay, Councillor Goida. Oh, am I muted? No, Councillor Goida.
I don't have any questions on this one. Thank you.
Councillor Spoulos.
I don't have any questions, but I'd like to make a motion to do two things. First of all, that the leftover funds from the broadband strategy be put in a newly created reserve called broadband strategy. And secondly, that the $5,000 that was allocated for gravel road study be put into the gravel roads reserve that we have established already.
Okay, let's do the broadband one first. Can I get a seconder for that? So we can just quickly discuss it.
Sure.
Okay, that's Councillor Goida. Any concerns with creating that? And Ms. Hassan, do you need to maybe do you have any concerns with creating a specific reserve for the broadband? As Councillor Spoulos mentioned.
I don't have any specific concerns, but if that's council's direction, then we can establish a new reserve, the broadband strategy.
Okay, and okay, so Councillor Goida, you had nothing?
No, I'm fine with that.
Okay, Councillor Spoulos, you obviously moved it, so let's Councillor Bailey
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
and Councillor Palmer.
I support that.
Yeah, I support it as well, so that's passed. And then the gravel roads one, can I get a seconder? I assume John's the mover. A seconder for that, please. Councillor Goida, so I'll let council speak first. Councillor Goida.
Yeah, I'm okay with that as well.
Councillor Spoulos, you're obviously okay with it because you moved it. Councillor Bailey.
Can I just ask for clarification, where would it go otherwise?
To the 2020 general surplus, both of these items.
Yeah, so I would support going into the gravel roads reserve. Yep.
Okay, Councillor Bowman.
I might propose an alternative. I wouldn't support it going to that reserve. We have a request on the agenda today to provide about $2,100 to Tapmo regarding aggregates. Sorry, Councillor Goida, I think you declared a conflict on that one, but in this regard, I think this would be an appropriate place to direct some of these funds. We just put an extra 43,000 or 1%, 45,000 into the gravel road study. I think I'd like to use a portion of this. If there's a surplus here, apply it towards that request from Tapmo as opposed to dumping it all back into the gravel road study.
Okay, Councillor Spoulos, I was impartial either way. I actually felt the 5K could just go into the surplus, which would have went into the asset management plan. And Councillor Spoulos, I truly appreciate your initiative here. As you know, it's something I'm really advocating for, but I saw you raise your hand, so I assume you might have a amendment to your motion.
We could dump it all into the gravel reserve and take it out when we discuss the report, or if you wish, we can just say, put everything except what's required for the
On approval of the TAPMO ask.
on approval of TAP, yes.
So that's, I know that was kind of ad hoc, but where are you, Ms. White Fox? So the resolution will read, putting the monies into the gravel roads reserve minus any monies approved for the TAPMO. I don't even want to say ask. TAPMO consideration. You have that written down better than I can articulate it?
Sorry, Mayor Sealy, I am working on the council resolution just because it has to do with some financial matters. So I'll just quickly write that up and then read it out to council, okay?
You know what we could do? I mean, we can just move forward on the TAPMO thing right now, but we'll see what the resolution says.
I think Councillor Sepoulos had a very creative solution to this, so it allows us to move ahead and deal with them separately, but, you know, good work on his part.
Was that different than what I just babbled about, Matthew, or no?
Well, it was the same thing, but that's
Okay.
what, you know, I tip my hat.
I'm sorry, council, if you can just remind me what the amount is for the TAPMO initiative? Is it 2192?
2100. Isn't it 2100?
That's correct.
Okay, so this is what I've worded it as. That report FIN 2021-004 regarding the 2020 completed capital projects be received, and that a broadband strategy implementation discretionary reserve be established with a contribution of the surplus from the 2020 broadband strategy project of $7,192 to be contributed to this newly established discretionary reserve, and that the $5,000 surplus from the gravel roads study be contributed to the gravel roads discretionary reserve to fund future gravel road improvement projects and the $2,100 TAPMO initiative,
If approved,
if approved.
because we haven't approved the 2100 yet. Does that need to be in there?
Just
Yes.
add-
Yeah.
Yes,
add
it
it
does.
if approved to the very end.
And when we get to it later. Okay. That was Councillor Spoulos. Who seconded that? Somebody raise a hand, blink, do something.
I don't
Suppose-
mind.
Okay, Councillor Bailey moved it. So you've heard the resolution in its entirety. If you're comfortable with it, vote in favor or comment.
I'm unclear as to whether I am able to vote on
Oh,
that.
yeah, because we combined it. Oh, no. Thank you, Councillor Goida. Give me 2 seconds. Let's just do it separate. Let's do it. Let's contribute. What's the amount for the gravel
5,000,
roads?
sorry, 5,000 less 2,100.
Yes,
Okay, so I've just changed the resolution to state that the 2,900 surplus from the gravel roads study be contributed to the gravel roads discretionary reserve to fund future gravel road improvement projects. Done. And then we'll deal with the other item separately.
okay. Yeah, sorry about that, Councillor Goida.
Thank you. And yes, I'm in favor. Thank you.
Sorry. Councillor Spoulos.
In favor?
Okay, Councillor Bailey,
Yes, I'm in favor.
Councillor Bowman,
In favor.
and I'm in favor. That's carried. And then Ms. Hassan, your next report.
Okay, so this is also another annual report that's provided to council prior to budget approval, providing council with projected balances in discretionary and restricted reserves from 2020 to 2030. So there is a balance in there as of December 31st, 2020, and that is the balance that will be audited through our fiscal year audit, and it's quite accurate. We are still receiving invoices and whatnot for 2020, but that's a good balance to go off of. And then the balances from 2021 to 2030 relate to our capital budget and forecast reporting that's been provided to council on several different occasions. So it includes the balances in the various reserves and the forecasted balances in those reserves. So I would welcome any questions from council.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Sand. Councillor Goida.
Maybe more of a comment. I just wanted to say the one thing that was in this report that really stood out to me as a positive was that projected balance in the asset management reserve. There was a time only a couple years ago that in certain years that projected balance was well below what the asset management plan had recommended as a minimum, and that was a concern. So now to see this reserve projected to meet the minimum throughout the entire 10-year horizon, I think that's really quite something. And especially in a time where things can be so uncertain, it's good to see that the township is positioned to take good care of its assets in the future. So having said that, in the past couple of years, it's been council's direction that any surplus from the budget has been directed to the asset management reserve in order to get to this point. So I know that this is not valid for this surplus that we are having for 2020, but moving forward into future years, would it be something to consider for council for that surplus, if there was any, to divert that to other projects such as the gravel roads improvements to help get some of those projects moving a little bit faster?
Yes, so, oops.
Yep, I was going to say the same thing. Absolutely. That's a decision council makes on a year-by-year basis, and you can prioritize and allocate the money as you see fit. Previously to now, that the priority was the asset management plan, but as it's getting in better shape, then for sure you can have other areas where you could like to direct. You could direct portions of it as well. All those kinds of things.
Okay, so just something I guess that we should maybe start thinking about as we start working on next year's budget later in the year. That's it.
Okay, Councillor Spose.
Yes, I was going to suggest we do start doing something with the gravel roads. We're putting all this money into the asset management plan. I was wondering if we can consider at least start design of a gravel road and be out in construction next year.
Done. We're not even voting on it. Passed.
My request would be to staff to investigate the first section of Priory Road that would be appropriate to design and report back to council with the cost implications and the timing, and then we make our decision at that time.
Moved motion. Anybody want to second it so we can discuss it? Somebody's got to second it. Councillor. Yeah, go ahead. Thank you. Ahead of the budget schedule for next year, is that, or we've seen the emails that there might be some review of our budget process, and that would that be more of an appropriate time for that, or is that too late in the season? Maybe I'll ask Mr. Schwendinger that and Mr. Fowler. We're looking at that, changing the budget process so that council and the public can give you a little more insight into our thoughts and projects we want done. Would that give enough time to prepare for presenting a road that could be paved?
We could definitely prepare some options. I just wanted to clarify from Councillor Sapoulis's motion there. Is that to recommend a project to do in 2021 or 2022?
To do in 2022. So I would assume if you're doing it in 2022, you would do the design in 2021.
Right. What I would suggest, and I'd have to review this with our Director of Public Works, but I would suggest is, as you know, we're going to be doing the roads master plan as well, right? So that's going to identify some key areas and likely the areas of top priority. So then maybe, you know, we could try to address the first one on the list then when that comes out of that. So we'll see how all that timing works out. But yes, we could definitely bring something forward for consideration.
Sounds good.
Where are we? Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, whoa, that just changed gears there. I was going to ask about the timing of that as well. You know, should we not be waiting then for the roads study before we jump ahead with that. But I'm in favor of looking into that for sure. But no comments on the report.
Okay, Councillor Bowman?
Yeah, this is the point. The point of doing a roads master plan is to identify which roads need to be done. I don't think we need to do anything other than just wait for the roads master plan to be completed and then fund the project. That's how the process works. I don't think we need to be doing anything now because we don't even know what we're going to do. We've already put in place the process to achieve this, so this seems somewhat redundant.
Yeah, we're not, it was just a comment, but I would caution council, this is the first report where we see the asset management plan is funded into the future, and all it takes is one hole in a bridge deck that is 10 to 15 years early and everything changes. So as much as I appreciate the support and the direction towards, that commitment of paving the roads, we may want to pull back on the reins a little bit, but I'm not being critical. I think the master plan will show us some roads, and it's definitely an option on the table now, where before with our funding concerns with the asset management plan, we definitely were not in this position. So it looks good going forward. Was that a motion or more just a topic of conversation, Councillor Lewis?
I'm satisfied with what our CEO has indicated as part of the master plan. He will come forward with a recommendation on what road to undertake, and I would like to see some design this year for construction next year if finances allow that.
Okay, so are we going to have to vote on that? So comments, and so how do we approach this, Councillor Lewis?
I would suggest we leave it with the CAO, and
Okay.
he said he's willing to do that, and let's not worry about a motion.
Okay, I have one quick question for Mary. The service delivery review, implementation, and municipal modernization funding. We have a lot of money sitting there. And do you see any opportunity for us to be using that? Can we modernize the municipal office? Can we modernize the PCC? I don't know. What's the intent of that money?
It is for finding efficiencies, and so, I think the countywide municipalities are also working through some of the recommendations that came out of the KPMG efficiency review as well in the future, that some of that money will be utilized for. But I think our Mr. CAO can maybe discuss further about that. And perhaps I haven't really checked with the province as to whether municipal office improvements would be eligible. I know in 2021, we've allocated a portion of the phased in implementation of some salaries as well with that funding, so that a lot of that funding will be used in that sense as well in 2021. But Mr. CAO can add to whatever else he would like to add related to that.
Sure. That's right. I'll just echo what Mrs. Sand just said, that part of that is the phase in of the org review that was done. But this is very much for the implementation of the efficiencies and potential sharing alternatives that we might have with our partners across the county. This is a project that was on the slate to do with all the local CAOs, but was unfortunately deferred. That was one of the deferred projects as the result of the pandemic. So that is something that we do have on the slate for this year. You look at what we can do to share and implement different things.
Okay. All right. Do we have a resolution for that, Ms. White Fox?
Well, I had a question about.
Oh, sorry.
Councillor Bailey did too.
Okay. Councillor Bailey.
No, I don't think I have any questions with this. Thanks.
Okay. Councillor Bowler. Oh, you muted yourself by accident.
How's that?
That's better.
That's better? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, just on the reserves, I noted that there's at least one reserve that is for a repeating but non-annual, or reoccurring but non-annual expense. And earlier this year, through the budget process, similar types of expenditures, recurring but non-annual recurring expenses, came up with the fire department regarding their recertifications and Red Cross training and things. And perhaps would it be possible or appropriate to establish a reserve for those kind of expenses, operational expenses that the fire department has, and that they can manage to deal with those?
That is
be-
one of the items that we're going to be taking a look at through the budget process, how to streamline that and what items should be funded that way, or which ones should be coming to council for budget requests at budget time, those types of things. We will be refining all that process.
Okay, so we can leave that for then. Okay, thank you.
Any further questions or comments before I call vote? Okay, Councillor Goyda, in favor? Muted, I don't know.
Yes, in favor.
Councillor Spillis,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey,
Yes, in favor.
Councillor Bowmer?
In favor.
Thank you. And Mrs. Sand, now I believe we're gonna go to 921.
Okay, should Ms. White Fox maybe read out the resolution for 923?
I thought we just did that.
Okay.
We
I'm
just
sorry.
received.
Okay,
Maybe I
yeah,
didn't. I thought we read it. No, we didn't. Let's do it properly.
And I believe I have Counselor Sapoulis and Counselor Goida for mover and seconder, if that's still correct.
Yeah.
Okay. And
It
it's,
got a little
it's just,
convoluted because we talked about something and we got back, but if you're comfortable, I'm comfortable. But if we want to redo it, let's do it.
so it's just that report FIN 2021-005 regarding the balances in the discretionary and restricted reserves be received for information.
I'm gonna go around again just to make sure we got it right. Councillor Goyda,
In favor.
Councillor Spillis,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey,
In favor.
Councillor Bowmer.
In favor.
There we go. All right. Ms. Hassan,
okay, so I guess we're going back up to 9.21, just with the final budget approval report and the bylaw as well. So basically, we all know that this has been a reiterative process that has started in October with our council meetings. And staff have started developing the budget in August of 2020. And so this report just summarizes some of the changes that were made to the budget based on council's direction at the January 13th meeting and what was presented to council at the to the public at the January 20th meeting. And what the impacts of the proposed budget are to the different property classifications, including median typical single family home, farmland property, small retail commercial property, and the standard industrial property. So I would welcome any questions from council at this time.
okay. Councillor Goyda,
I have no questions, but I was hoping that council would consider possibly writing a letter to the Minister of Infrastructure to let the province know how much the OSIF funding helped us in establishing a 0% increase in our capital tax levy this year. I know that funding was under review and we weren't sure we were even going to get that, and we did, and it made a big difference. And so I think that it would be a good idea to let them know how much it helped us.
it's interesting, Councillor Goyda. I had the same thought process. So in the media release that Ms. Hassan has provided, I don't know if it's actually on the agenda or not, but I have it. And in the quote that I'm quoted, we reference that funding source as well. So I'm comfortable.
okay.
If you'd like to do it in addition to just the media release so that it gets sent to the minister, I'm comfortable with that too. But just for your information, it will be on the media release.
Okay, thank you.
We'll just do one. We'll just make sure we do one.
Okay,
We don't need to do a resolution. We can just send one. It was important. Councillor Spillis.
Well, just a comment, thanks to staff, especially to Mary, for struggling through our deliberations on this and interpreting everything and trying to interpret everything, and we got where we got.
Thank you.
Councillor Bailey.
No questions. Well done to the team for this. And I think Olivia and I
Lost half of that with your video on there, Councillor Bailey. Sorry.
Oh, I just said no questions. Well done to the team on the report, and a letter would be a nice gesture. So.
Okay, Councillor Bowmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, Ms. Hussein, for the work you did and for the work you did at the public meeting. I could tell that there were other things, other responsibilities that you were managing at the same time as trying to manage the resources of the township and inform our residents. And I appreciate that you had an extra burden that evening, although it's I shouldn't say the word burden, but an extra responsibility. So thank you very much for doing that on an evening that invaded your private space. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Councillor Bowman.
Okay, so for the folks sitting in the gallery, Ms. Hassan or the corporation will provide this budget release, but there is a quote in there from me, and I'll read it for you now and for council's indulgence. This Busselton Council has passed a responsible budget that continues to focus on our key priorities. Township is appreciative of the safe restart funding announced by the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing for 2021 COVID-19 operating pressures and the 2021 Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund formula component funding announced by the Minister of Infrastructure for infrastructure investment. So those, as described already, those were two very key important funding grants that helped facilitate us doing a very, very responsible budget. Thank you, Mary, for all your hard work. I don't know how you do it with crunching numbers like that, but we're happy to have you, and thanks again. I get a resolution, Ms. White Fox.
Yes, Mr. Chair, a mover and seconder as well.
Did you read the resolution already? Oh, sorry, you did. Sorry, I misunderstood. Okay.
No,
Councillor
sorry, Mr. Chair, I haven't yet. I can read it out.
Okay, thank you.
That report FIN 2021-003 regarding the 2021 budget final be received, and the council gives 3 readings to bylaw number 2021-008, being a bylaw to adopt the budget for the corporation of the Township of Busselton for the year 2021, and that correspondence be forwarded to the Minister of Infrastructure, emphasizing the integral role that the Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund formula component funding has had in enabling the township to continue to invest in its infrastructure.
Okay, and mover for that, please. Councillor Spillis, seconded by Councillor Goyda. All in favor, Councillor Goyda,
In favor.
Councillor Spillis,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I think I'm in favor, but I thought I heard you say report 008. Can you just
I didn't
confirm?
pick up on
Sorry, Councillor Bailey, it's report 003, but then bylaw number 008.
the bylaw is in numerical
Okay.
order from other ones, and this is just the report.
Okay.
Councillor Balmer.
In favor.
All right, that's carried. Nice work. Our budget is done.
Thank you very much, everyone. Great work.
Yeah. Let's go for a beverage. Oh wait, can't do that. All right, so who's the last report? The LAS authority? It is Mary. Oh, Mary, you're still on the hook. 9.2.4. Don't call me Mr. Lever.
I won't, I'm sorry about that.
It must have been awful to get flustered right before I put you on the hot seat for 3 or 4 reports.
It was pretty awful.
I'm not upset. Don't worry about
Okay, thank you.
it. All right.
Okay, sorry about that. So this is just the final report from finance. It's just the execution of an agreement with local authority services for natural gas appointment and retainer agreement. We have a current agreement with LAS for natural gas at township-owned facilities. And so the purpose of this agreement is that it'll provide LAS with the flexibility to change service providers without obtaining township authorization. The term of the agreement is a 2-year period with automatic renewal options. We have been with LAS since June 2007 for this service. And so the report includes a summary of the terms of the agreement and the financial implications associated with the fee to LAS remains consistent to previous years as well. So I would welcome any questions from council.
Councillor Goyda, sorry.
Okay, I have no questions. Thank you.
Okay. Councillor Spillis,
I'm good.
Councillor Bailey,
No questions.
Councillor Balmer.
No questions specifically to LAS, but one on natural gas, just a quick one. I just had a phone call this week with rumors there was natural gas going down Watson Road and people south of 34 where it would be able to connect. any truth to that rumor? Does anybody know if this is the case or not?
I have asked Enbridge for an update on any of their funding programs or new expansion areas. And they're still waiting to get approvals from the province, but I'm supposed to be getting a more thorough update from them within the next week or two, and then I'll report back to council at that time.
But there is no, when people see pipes going in the ground down Watson Road, that's not gas?
It's orange fiber.
I just wanted to confirm, I want to try to put this rumor to bed, to hear from the
Is it-
staff that there's no gas on Watson Road.
Not that I'm aware of, like the mayor just mentioned, I believe that might be something to do with the fiber.
I think so
installation.
too, yeah. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Whitefox, you want to read the resolution?
That report FIN 2021-006 regarding the local authority services, execution of natural gas appointment and retainer agreement be received, and that council give 3 readings to bylaw number 2021-009, being a bylaw authorizing the entering into a natural gas appointment and retainer agreement with the local authority services.
Perfect. Mover for that, please. Councillor Bailey, I saw you raise your hand. Seconder, Councillor Spoulos. Okay, all in favor. Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey,
In favor?
Councillor Bowman,
In favor.
and I'm in favor. That's carried. I believe, if I'm correct, the next one is 933. Proposed amendment to the procedural bylaw. Ms. Whitefox, you want to read that out, please?
That report ADM 2021-008 proposed, 007 proposed procedural bylaw amendments be received, and that council give 3 readings to bylaw 2021-010, being a bylaw to amend the township's procedural bylaw 59-08 as amended, attached to this report as Appendix A.
The mover and seconder, just so we can discuss it. Mover, Councillor Spoulos, seconded by Councillor Bailey. I'll just go first here real quick. I know we mentioned putting a review on this for July. This is this the second time we've changed the schedule for council in one fiscal year? It's challenging for me to continually change my schedule to meet the obligations. So I would request that we extend that that trial period just to November. My schedule is set for the next year in December. So by November, so that'll give us a much better flavor if this is working, unless of course it really goes off the rails. I'm sure staff or council could raise it, but I'd like to consider just making it a little bit longer trial for basically get us to the end of this fiscal year. So thoughts on that?
Mr. Mayor, maybe that, I believe that would be the next council item. We're doing procedural bylaw update right now. I think you were speaking to the council meeting schedule.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Never mind.
That's okay.
So
They're both linked. That's fine.
So when we get to that next one, just keep that in consideration. Councillor Goida.
I have no questions about the
yeah.
procedural.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Councillor Spoulos,
I'm good, thank you.
Councillor Bailey,
No questions?
Councillor Bowman.
No questions, thank you.
Okay, all in favor, Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey,
In favor?
Councillor Bowman.
In favor.
All right, that's carried. Sorry about that. In my mind, they're both the same thing, so. All right, I'll get Ms. Whitefox to read that resolution for 934.
That report ADM 2021-008 proposed council meeting schedule be received, and that council approve the amended council meeting schedule for February to July 2021 attached to this report as Appendix A.
There you go. So you guys heard the spiel. Can I get a mover for that so we can discuss? Councillor Bailey, seconded by Councillor Bowman.
Yes.
Awesome. And go, Councillor Goida.
I am fine to extend it to November, as you were mentioning. I think, though, that in this report, there's mention about staff reporting back to council in June with feedback in regards to the impacts of the amended schedule, and I would suggest that perhaps that remain in place and we see how it goes. And then, I mean, we can always modify from there, but I'm fine tentatively putting it through till November and kind of seeing how it goes in June, up until June.
Okay, Councillor Spoulos.
I agree with Councillor Goida.
Yeah, Councillor Bailey.
Yep, I'm okay with that extension. We have said that it's a trial basis until we can return to normal. Does that wording still stay in there, or does it matter?
I would suggest that, given the circumstances, yeah, the wording stays there.
Okay, yeah, I'm good.
Councillor Ballmer.
Yeah, I support it. It's not a huge extension considering that July and August, we only meet once a month anyway. It's really, we're adding September and August. I guess we're October, we're adding 2 months to the trial, to the new schedule, maybe 3. So, and if, as you say, if it doesn't work out, we can adjust as we go, but I support the motion.
Okay.
Maybe if I could just make a suggestion, just so I understand, I think you suggested that we extend it to November. Is there a reason November was selected, or should we just do it to year end to make it simpler?
The only reason why I'm saying November, Mr. CAO, is because I have to choose my holidays in December, early December. So
Okay.
if I choose them on the schedule for November and then you change it in December, it really puts a wrench in.
Okay, no, that's fine. I was just trying to understand what the November criteria was, but that's fine.
But the schedule could stay till the end of year. I just need to know what schedule I'm on by November.
Yeah,
That's, I guess, a better way to put it.
Okay.
Okay, so all in favor, Councillor Goyda,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
In favor.
Councillor Bailey.
Sorry, just a question. Do we need to stipulate what those dates are before we agree to this? Because the report has the dates spelled out in it.
I'm
Every
sorry,
third
if I
week.
may, Mr. Chair.
Sure.
We would be going on a frequency of every 3 weeks. The procedural bylaw does give a little bit of flexibility for the months of July and August for council to determine those dates, given that we're having just one meeting. But other than that, other than those 2 months, it would be a frequency of 3 weeks.
And staff can circulate the dates that are missing.
Okay. Agreed.
Okay. Councillor Ballmer.
In favor.
Sorry, Jess, were you adjusting your hair? Did your hand go up? I didn't quite see.
I'm thinking, I guess, with my face.
Oh, no, it was out of the corner of my eye. I thought
I'm just wondering though, the budget meetings, I'm on this calendar and this report only goes to July. And so I don't have the calendar up to the end of the year in front of me. Budget meetings themselves would stay in their sort of designated.
You're breaking up, but I believe you're asking if the budget meetings will stay the same. I understand they will. I haven't.
Yes, we will try our best to do that. It might adjust slightly with the revisions to the budget process. We might put an extra meeting in earlier in the year or something like that, but we'll bring that information as part of the budget review process to make sure that you're aware.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so that's passed. Right. Page on the wrong page. All right. Who's doing the kennel bylaw? It is Ms. Whitefox. Did you want to speak to that?
Yes, just briefly, this is our second draft of the proposed kennel licensing bylaw update. And I've just summarized in the report some of the highlights that the revision touches on. Additionally, we're asking council to also authorize staff to be able to issue 2021 kennel licenses in accordance with past practice, just as we work through kind of the various bylaws that are impacting the kennel operations in the township. And if you have any questions or comments, I'm happy to answer.
And I'll have you read the resolution and we'll get a mover and seconder so we can discuss, please.
That report ADM 2021-009 proposed kennel licensing bylaw second draft be received for information, and that council authorize staff to issue 2021 kennel licenses in accordance with past practice to provide time to finalize various bylaws that affect kennel operations within the township.
Thank you. Mover for that, please. Councillor Spoulos, seconded by Councillor Bailey. Okay, comments? Councillor Goyda.
I just want to confirm that, so for the kennel applications that come in for the 2021 year, these would follow the same practice as before, and then they would be subject to the new bylaw and rules when they apply in 2022. Am I understanding that correct?
As it relates to the application process, yes, that's correct. as it relates to some of the provisions in the kennel licensing bylaw with respect to inspections and that sort of thing. Those may come into place when the licensing bylaw is approved.
Okay.
But the application itself, that process would be similar to last year.
Okay, and then same sort of question with the DocuPet software. Has that been put in place? And if not, is it sort of the same situation?
So the DocuPet, I believe, is coming it's starting March 1st. And so all dog licenses have been are being carried over until that date.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Spillis?
I just had 2 minor comments that I had sent to staff. Otherwise, I'm fine.
Councillor Bailey?
I did have one question, and it's in regards to number 8, so dog kennel license applications. It doesn't mention anywhere the requirement of a site visit. And so I guess my question is, when is a site visit initiated, or is it required for a new application?
So there will be inspections that occur after a property has been licensed. And so those licensing requirements that they submit when they apply would include, for instance, as noted in the bylaw, a site plan and just documenting all the structures on the property used for the kennel. We don't specifically note in the bylaw when annual inspections or biannual inspections will take place. That's just so that the bylaw officer has a little bit of flexibility to perform those inspections without necessarily giving notice. Sometimes it's to the benefit of the bylaw officer to go out without necessarily giving notice to a property owner, just to have a clear idea of what's actually occurring on the property. So that's why that's not specifically noted in the bylaw.
Okay, but that's for existing kennels. What about a new kennel? Does that not require a site visit to approve the application?
Not necessarily to, oh, sorry, Mr. CAO, not necessarily to approve it. We do ask them to sign a declaration that the information they're submitting is true and accurate, and then site visits would take place later on throughout the year.
Mr. CAO, did you have something?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that that's a point that we might consider. That's a good idea, Councillor Bailey, to prior to issuing a license, maybe just go and confirm locations on site. Yes, they're going to be signing a document, but just as with building issues and planning issues, often we do go take a look at the site as well. So we'll have that discussion internally and see if we can incorporate that in some way, or at least provide the ability to do that in some way.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Ballmer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, staff, for this report. It's getting better every time, and I appreciate the fact that you're going to be taking the feedback that you've received and work it into the final. Perhaps the next one will be the final draft. Also, I want to thank staff for putting the notice in with the tax bill about the DocuPet. The only missing piece was where to find it. It mentioned, so maybe in future correspondence to the residents, we can include a link on the flyer as to where you can actually find DocuPet, whether it's on our website, on their own website, that sort of thing. So, but otherwise, good work. Look forward to the next draft.
Excellent. All right. Any further comments before we vote? This is just to receive. Well, we heard the resolution and direction. All in favor, Councillor Goyda?
In favor.
Councillor Spoulis?
In favor?
Councillor Bailey?
In favor.
And Councillor Ballmer?
In favor.
All right, that's passed. Corporate work plan, Mr. Schwendinger.
Okay, so this is basically a summary of last year's progress on the work plan that council had approved to see what happened. As you might recall, it was approved right at the commencement of the pandemic and all the things that we encountered since then. So what we've done, we've been keeping track of this on a regular basis through the leadership team, noting progress on projects, whether they got bumped out a little bit, those projects that were completed, those types of things. So there's a bit of a summary in the report that just tells you, overall how we did in light of the year that was there with the approved projects. And then it shows you which projects were deferred to this year. So those have been incorporated into this year's plan, along with all the projects that were approved in the budget and any other recommended projects that came from staff. So this is going to form the basis of our regular operations as the leadership team on top of the day-to-day things that we normally do. So we will continue to review this on a regular basis and be providing updates to council as needed, or if there's any changes in the projects. That way, if there's any additional projects that come up through the year, we can see what the workload is and try and see what can be fit in, or if something has to then be adjusted a little bit so that we can fit in the new stuff that comes along. But basically just a snapshot for everyone to see what's going on and when in the year.
Councillor Goyda.
Thank you. I have no questions. I like to see this report, and there's certainly no shortage of work taking place. So thank you for keeping us in the loop.
Sure. Councillor Spoulos.
I have no questions. So thanks staff for putting this together, and it's a good tool. I can tell. Thank you.
Councillor Bailey.
Yeah, I've said this before, but I really like seeing this. I think it just helps keep everybody in step, and I think that's really important. I did have one question, and it might be in here. I'm just not sure what it would fall under, but I know at some point there was talk about more specifically for fire or emergency or safety issues using a social media platform and policies around that. Is that lumped into one of these topics somewhere?
What we're going to be doing is now that we've got the resources getting lined up in terms of the organization review, one of the key tasks, and I don't recall offhand if it's one of the 105 or 106 that are listed on here, but one of the tasks that we're starting to work on already is the overall corporate communication strategy and social media strategy. So that will incorporate those things that you're specifically speaking to, and then how we communicate all of the information that comes up municipally through the year to our residents. So that will be one component, as well as how we deal with emergency information and fire services information, those types of things, but through all departments as well. So that's all going to be incorporated, and that will be something that will be coming forward to council as well in terms of the overall policy and what our recommendations will be of how we go about implementing that.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. White-Fox, can you read that resolution?
Mr. Mayor.
I keep doing that. Sorry, Councillor Bulmer. I don't know why I'm doing that.
Just a little guy over here in the corner.
You keep moving though on my screen. That doesn't help me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Schwindinger, for this report. Just a couple of questions. Space needs analysis study. I noted that the Aberfoyle County, the county's Aberfoyle garage is due for reconstruction. I think it's within the next 5 years in their 5-year plan, and they're doing the Arthur one this year for Wellington North, and in Wellington North they're doing it a combined project with their municipal yard. So I know we're not short of space for our municipal yard or our public works yard, but I didn't know, had you considered any of these, this when they redevelop the property next door, if we need to, that kind of collaboration here. I don't know if there's any opportunities, since we don't need more public workspace and we'll probably need more office space, but have those conversations taking place between ourselves and the county on those things?
Those discussions have taken place already with our Director of Public Works and myself, just so that we can get in line with what our needs are here. And then we will be having those discussions with the county too, to see exactly what they are planning and what they could potentially incorporate here. I agree that at the initial stages, it doesn't look like we need any office space or space to put people over there, but maybe operationally we might, and for example, sand storage or something like that, just so we don't have to duplicate a facility next door. So those are definitely things that we're going to be incorporating into this undertaking for sure.
That's good, because I agree. We don't want to duplicate physical resources that are, it's one person paying for it. We don't need to duplicate it. And then if So that's good on that front. The other piece maybe is more for Chief Gomes. One of the items on the list was inspection of both the public and the private reservoirs. But I seem to recall a report earlier this year or last year that the fire department was no longer going to be providing those inspections of private reservoirs. So is this just it's a review, or are they actually still carrying on those inspections of the private reservoirs?
Council Bulmer, if it's okay, if I can answer this question directly to you, I'll go ahead. Can you hear me okay?
Oh, absolutely.
Loud and clear, Chief.
Okay. So what we did a couple years ago is we went from a process where the fire department was inspecting all the dry hydrant / fire reservoirs in the township directly. So we've got approximately 100. So what we did is, and we did it properly, the onus is on the property owner to inspect their own fire reservoir. So what we're asking our property owners now to do is to have that done privately. It's very cost effective. It's not too expensive at all. And they submit certification of these inspections to us. However, right now, the township owns about 19 fire reservoirs. So those are the ones that we inspect ourselves. So the review process is a completion of receiving all the certifications from the private fire reservoir owners, and then our own inspections on behalf of the township. And that's why it's listed in the work plan the way it is.
Super. Thank you so much, Mr. Chief.
You're welcome.
Okay, just for clarification, Councillor Bulmer, the Works Garage next door just popped onto the 10-year capital plan at the county. And
Thank you very much.
I've initiated some of those conversations up there, but I feel we should all keep an eye on that mutual build or facility they're going to do in Wellington North and see how that relationship works over the next few years. And I agree with you. And I think Mr. Schwendinger, Councillor Bulmer was mentioning that we wouldn't need additional public workspace, but we would need additional office space. But those are something you could determine over the next few years, but we definitely have an opportunity to not duplicate two sand domes, one big building that holds all the equipment, wash bays. So we have some time, but it is on the horizon.
Correct.
Is there any further comments before I ask Ms. White Fox to read the resolution? All right, Ms. White Fox.
Report ADM 2021-010 regarding the draft 2021 corporate work plan be received, and that the Township of Portland Council direct staff to proceed with finalizing the document as presented and report back to council.
Okay, move for that, please. Nobody? Councillor Goida, seconded by Councillor Spoulos. All in favor? Councillor Goida?
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos?
In favor.
Councillor Bailey?
In favor.
Councillor Bulmer?
In favor.
And it's carried. Ms. White Fox, could you read the resolution for the next
Thanks.
document?
Yes, that report HER 2021-001 regarding the Heritage Committee proposed goals and objectives for 2021 and 2022 brought forward by the Heritage Committee be received, and that the proposed goals and objectives as presented be endorsed by council, subject to further information being provided by the committee on initiatives with budget implications.
Okay, comments, Councillor Goida?
No questions. I think this is great to see this list of things that the Heritage Committee is working on, and I would fully support endorsing this.
Okay, Councillor Spoulos?
I likewise will endorse this. I have no questions or issues on the report.
Thank you. Councillor Bailey?
Yeah, I think this is a wonderful report to receive. It's really nice to see a clear indication of what the committee's doing. And in fact, I'm hoping to kind of adopt this process with Safe Communities. Just such a nice way to make it all clear. So thanks for that.
Okay, Councillor Bulmer?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, just all you have to do is speak to Ms. White Fox, and she can set you up right away with staff. She and our new Hillary, I think it's Hillary Miller, did a great job of putting this plan together for the committee. So it's, I think it's going to help them out a lot. It gives the committee a focus and a sense of purpose and a sense of achievement. So as they can check things off. So thank you very much to staff for helping this come to life for the Heritage Committee.
Good job. I get a mover for that to receive it. Councillor Bailey, second by Councillor Spoulos, all in favor. Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spoulos,
In favor?
Councillor Bailey,
In favor?
Councillor Ballmer.
In favor.
All right, that's carried. So Fox, you want to read the resolution for this Ontario Sporting Home Based?
Yes, that report ED-2021-001 regarding provincial directives supporting home-based food businesses during COVID-19 be received for information.
Okay, I'm gonna move it for that and we'll talk about it. Councillor Bailey, second by Councillor Spoulos. Discussion, Councillor Goida, in favor as well.
Yeah, I'm glad that our zoning bylaw can support the general concept of this. I think the pandemic has really shown some really amazing entrepreneurial innovation, and I think that this allows that to take place, or some of it to take place. Hopefully this sparks some new entrepreneurs in the township, and I'm glad that our zoning can support it. So I would be in favor.
Yep. Councillor Spoulos.
I'm in favor.
Yep. Councillor Bailey. Oh, is she frozen?
Looks like it.
Councillor Bailey, am I frozen?
Yep, in favor.
Oh, sorry. Wasn't sure if it was me or. Yep.
Nope.
Okay. Turn your video off. There you go. Oh, yep.
This suggests to me that it's a temporary measure, or is this something that will be able to continue after COVID? Do we know?
We've put that specific question out there and we're awaiting a response.
Okay. Somewhat related, it got me doing a little digging, and I discovered the Taste Real kind of website and inventory, I guess, of local, I guess, agri-food businesses. And I'm wondering if there's a way we can be linking this onto our website.
Sorry, by this, what do you mean? The
Taste Real, it's kind of an inventory or a list of people that are doing this already, home-based food.
Sure, we'll
businesses.
definitely take a look at that and see how we could incorporate something. Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Ballmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, this is good. This highlights, I'm glad to hear the Councillor Goida's comments, and it highlights just how important our home business and home industry or home occupation policies are. There's been lots of people who moved to the township in the past because of our support for startup businesses in home businesses and home occupations. And I can tell you, through starting the farmers market here and talking to all the numerous vendors that came from around this area, this is very important to those places. Especially farmers markets rely on vendors who get started in exactly these situations. And there's been a 2 or 3 that have started at the market and gone on to make the investment in their homes to put in a full commercial kitchen, and to start catering businesses and the like. So I was hoping council would support sending this report with just a cover letter to the farmers market organization here in the township, making them aware that our policies are supportive of this. And because this report includes the direction from the province, they may or may not have received that themselves, but I think it'd be helpful for them to know that they have the support of the township behind them to enable these startups. And the Health Unit here over the years has been very supportive of these as well. So it's been a good environment here for startup businesses. So thank you.
I get a seconder for Councillor Ballmer's recommendation that we forward this on. Thank you, Councillor Spoulos. Any discussion on what Councillor Ballmer proposed? No? Okay, I think that's a great idea, Councillor Ballmer, and hopefully this year, the farmers market can get back on their feet. And if they're down some vendors, maybe this newsletter will create some new vendors for the market. So kudos to you for thinking of that. All right, all in favor, Councillor Goyda? You guys hear me? I think I'm.
I hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, you in favor, Councillor Goyda? Why is she not
In
hearing me?
favor.
Yep, okay, Councillor Spillis?
In favor.
Right, Councillor
I'm
Bailey?
in favor.
In favor.
Councillor Palmer?
In favor.
Okay, so that one's done. Emergency management, nothing. Roads and parks, rec, none. Correspondence, 10.1, let me pull it up. Okay, so this is the roads master plan. So I'm sure you're aware that the county's doing their road, they don't like me calling it traffic master plan because they want consistent messaging, but they call it the road master action plan. And the online portal went up over the end of January. It ends on Friday, February 11th. So please encourage your friends, neighbors, contacts to engage as much as they can. I do believe you can still call in if the internet is not your thing. But last I heard, they had 2,600 visits to the website. Of that, 2,500 was Don Kudo, the public engineer for the county. No, I'm just kidding. He figured there was 460 pins, I would say, dropped, where people either identified concerns or I think you can even identify things that are good. So that was at our roads meeting last week or earlier this week. I don't know, things blend. But so yeah, it comes down on the 11th, but I was also told this is just the first engagement of the public. They'll obviously have some public information meetings. Maybe we'll see another portal come up, but they're happy with the uptake from the community. So I'll take some questions and I hope I can answer it, and I hope you engaged it yourselves. Councillor Gwyneth?
No, I have no questions. I did see that you put this on your Facebook page as well, and I haven't exactly figured out how to do that, but I'll try and do that as well. But I think it's really good. Obviously, traffic and roads is a massive concern throughout our township. So the more input that we can get, the better I think will be. So thank you.
Councillor Spillis?
Yeah, no, I put it to some people in Aberfoyle and hopefully they respond. I guess the only question I have is the resolutions that our council made with respect to various county roads. Is that going to be factored into this study?
So the resolution that we made about traffic in and around Aberfoyle was factored in. They're doing a specific, as far as I understand, maybe a little bit similar to what we saw today with the Guelph presentation, that this is high level quite yet. But my understanding is they're going to do a specific traffic study inside this study for Aberfoyle. If you're referring to the resolutions, that we've all been advocating for to reduce the lanes in Aberfoyle, maybe not all of us, but reduce the lanes in Aberfoyle. That won't be addressed specifically now. I think that's work that, this council will have to do once we see the numbers from the study and where the traffic's going to go and how it's going to be affected. But I was happy that they will be doing this kind of site-specific study for us. Does that answer your question, Councillor Spillis?
It does for Aberfoyle. What about Lake Road?
I don't believe they're doing a specific study for Lake Road.
But the motions that we made for Lake Road, will it be factored into the study as well?
I'd have to follow up with Mr. Kudo on that, to be honest. I'm not 100% certain. I don't want to misspeak, Councillor Spillis.
I just want to make sure that they're not going on a separate path and whatever we said in the past is incorporated in this.
Yeah, I'll have to follow up with him and circle back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Bailey.
I hid. I think this has been a great platform for engaging the public. I've been sharing it as well with people, and being able to just click and make a comment or like has been quite easy. So, please send that feedback. I don't know the cost to using this sort of platform, but I wondered if maybe this social pinpoint is something we can use for the township when we do our study.
We're definitely looking at the same type of thing through our Bang the Table engagement platform. We're going to be trying to have the very similar type of approach. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Ballmer?
No questions.
That was quick. Okay.
You're kind of fading in and out there, Mr. Mayor.
Sorry,
Yeah, that's better.
am I back?
Yep.
Okay, can Ms. White Fox read the resolution, please, to accept that?
That council received correspondence item 10.1 regarding the County of Wellington Road Master Action Plan, notice of commencement for information.
Thank you. Mover for that, please. Councillor Spillis, seconder. Councillor Ballmer, we're going to put you to work.
Yep, I'll second
Okay.
that.
All in favor? Councillor Goida,
In favor.
Councillor Spillis,
Favor?
Councillor Bailey,
In favor?
and
In
Councillor.
favor.
There you go. Carried. Municipal stakeholders letter. Ms. White Fox, can you read that resolution, please? And then we'll discuss it and see.
Council received correspondence item 10.2 regarding municipal stakeholders letter, operation of off-road vehicles on municipal roads for information.
Thank you. Can I get a mover for that and discuss it? Councillor Spillis, seconded by Councillor Goida. Okay. I'll maybe direct to our CAO. He can maybe give us a little synopsis. I believe there's been some meetings with other CAOs and at the county on the direction they're taking on this one. So, Mr. CAO.
Sure. There has been some preliminary discussions amongst the CAOs of the implication of this new legislation, which took effect January 1st. There's actually a meeting scheduled, I believe on the 17th. I don't have it in front of me right now. That's going to be taking place with the OPP as well, just to get a handle on where things are at with the different municipalities and to see what the potential implications are. And what I would suggest is maybe that you receive this for information and that staff be asked to report back so that we can see what the potential impacts might be or what the options are for Puslinch Council, because I understand there may be some differing views around the county, which is fine. But just so that you can see where it or how it impacts Puslinch, so that you can make your decision to whether it's status quo you want to implement one way or the other. So this is kind of a heads up. There's going to be some discussions within a week or so, and then I can report back to you.
Okay, Councillor Goida.
Yeah, that sounds good. I would be in favor of hearing how this impacts us for sure.
Okay, Councillor Spillis.
Yes, I'm in favor.
Okay, Councillor Bailey.
Sorry, I apologize. My internet cut out. All I heard was something about the 17th with OPP. So is that February 17th? There's a meeting?
I believe so. I can just quickly double check here. Yeah, it's a meeting that's taking place, or sorry, it's the 18th. It's a meeting that's going to be taking place with representatives from across the county. OPP will be there as well as representatives from each of the municipalities to present or to discuss what the impacts are going to be, and then we can report back for you to make your decision.
Good. That was my question is, is there collaboration happening across the county? So that answers my question. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Ballmer.
Sounds good.
All right. So
I'm in
we got a
favor.
mover. We got a mover secondary up for that. So
Yep.
Mr. CEO will report back. All right, 10.3.
Should we call the vote on that? We just had a mover and second. We should call the vote, I believe.
I kind of had them say in favor when we talk, but we can do it again.
Okay.
Councillor Goida. No, it's fine. Councillor Goida in favor?
Yeah.
Because the resolution did technically change because we're going to have Glenn staff report back. So Councillor Goida in favor? Yep. Councillor Spillis?
In favor?
Councillor Bailey?
Favor?
Councillor Ballmer?
In favor.
Okay. So 10.3, I hope everybody, it came out late and I apologize it didn't, well, I did have a part with it because we had our meeting with TAPMO and the importance of this and the timeline was short. So we wanted to get it out in front of councils as quickly as possible. So what it boils down to is that we have about 17 months until there's a provincial election. You know, TAPMO as a organizer, as a group, is feeling frustrated that we're not recognized equally with OSSGA. We're not able to get in front of the ministers and the people that make the decisions that affect, you know, the aggregate assessment, which in my opinion, I'm sure this council as well, that the assessment methodology and the amount that aggregate pits pay needs to be revised. And TAPMO has been given an opportunity to hire a company that we feel will raise our stakes at the provincial level so that hopefully we're recognized equally or in a higher standard than OSSGA, which I feel should be the case since we represent the constituents and the municipalities, right? And to do that, there's a cost, and Wellington County has been bearing the cost of the aggregate appeals and trying to get some things changed. And the executive at TAPMO felt that to spread some of that cost over all the members of TAPMO that are willing to pay, then we came up with a one-time ask to get this advocacy group going. And then that way, TAPMO is going to have their AGM in August, and we will revise our fee schedule then. And so this will be a one-time ask, but I'm not going to, I'm not going to hide the fact that the fee schedule for TAPMO will likely be changing, but at least it will come in front of the Director of Finance and Councils through the appropriate process, which is a budget process. So essentially what we've done at TAPMO is we've said, here's the issue. We feel this is our last chance before the end of the election to fix it. It's going to cost the members $2,100. And we're optimistic. I'm quite optimistic. And we hope the uptake is there. Otherwise, I'm not sure the direction TAPMO will go if the other members don't see the value in this either. So that's a quick synopsis, but I'm definitely open to questions. So Councillor Spoulos.
Jessica, I guess you can't speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm in favor of anything advancing the cause. I just feel frustrated that the county's done what they could, and they seem to be sort of at a standstill. And how do you feel, Mr. Mayor, on the capabilities of this firm to advance our cause?
I am very optimistic, very, very optimistic, because of some of the advocacy they've already been able to accomplish. And my understanding is that they will not take on a customer if they don't see an avenue, because they have a reputation. They don't want to be seen as just taking money and work done. So they review what you want done, and they're willing to take the file. That was also a concern of mine. That's why I approached TAPMO, and we decided to try to fund this across many member municipalities to spread out the costing. That way, if we get this done with this individual, we're going to be heroes, because it's going to fix a lot of problems for a lot of municipalities. To me, it's worth it. It's our only option left. So without getting into further detail, but I mean, I'm finding the delegations are not being heard well. This is it, and I'm willing to take a chance. But I'm pretty confident, Councillor Spoulos. But you never know. I mean, in your previous life, you probably had a little more experience, but that's why I believe it was, getting TAPMO involved and getting other member municipalities to buy in would help spread that risk out.
No, so this is important to our township, so I'm willing to support the allocation of funding for this.
Thank you, Councillor Spoulos. Where do we go from there? Councillor Bailey. She's moved on me again. No, she's down there. Councillor Bailey.
Hello. I've missed everything you said. Sorry, I was cut out.
No problem. Do you want me to give you another synopsis? I can do that.
I mean, I've read through it, and I can see the benefit to this. So I do support it. I did have a question. Like, what if only a percentage agree to contribute? Is it going ahead regardless? Are you hiring this group, or how does that work?
That's the $1 million question. And that's the frustration we're finding at TAPMO as the executive, is that we need buy-in from the member municipalities. Otherwise, you know, honestly, I'm gonna be frank, what are we doing? Right? So there's a core group of member municipalities. If this doesn't get adopted by the vast majority of TAPMO, I believe there's enough support from some key players that it would likely go forward, but on a much shorter timeline. So maybe a 6-month interval, something like that. But that's something the executive would have to determine. And does that help?
Yeah, I thought I read that it was a 6-month proposed.
Well, if he's successful, then if TAPMO is able to reorganize their fee structure and get funding, they may continue. But
yep. No, you have, yep, my support to help fund this. Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Balmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, as I indicated earlier, I support this. I mean, this is the underlying fundamental problem with the way things are being done right now, and we have to get it fixed, because while the levy is, when the levy was doubled, that was great. That was, you know, think back how long that's been in place. It's not catching up to where it should have been. And the biggest challenge with the levy, of course, is it's self-reported, and it doesn't apply to all material that is developed. It's just this, unlike the levy, this is in place. It's applied external. It levels the playing field between this and all other industrial activities. You know, most industrial sites are not assessed based on how many widgets they put out the door, or how many widgets they count that they put out the door, or where those widgets are going, and whether they assessed or not. So this would be a better approach. I'd understand other members of TAPMO who may be hesitant to invest, because so many of us have been there, done that, you know, and seen so many of these attempts at addressing the assessment piece through MPAC fail. But this is a different approach, and sometimes, you know, that's what we need. If what's doing the same thing over and over and over again doesn't work, then it's time to try something different. And this is certainly something different. So thank you for bringing it to us, and I think we've got to give it a try.
I appreciate that. And I mean, I'm not the leader of this. I'm one of a bunch of leaders that have tried to find a new avenue. I believe we'll have to amend the resolution so that we fund it from that gravel roads. Unless, how are we gonna surplus? Remember the gravel, where did she go?
Mayor Seeley, are you
Yeah.
looking for me? Yeah.
Yes.
So Ms. White Fox has the resolution prepared.
Okay. Ms. White Fox.
The council received correspondence item 10.3, the request from TAPMO regarding retention of a public relations firm, and that the surplus from the gravel road study of $2,100 be utilized to fund the TAPMO initiative.
That's it. Okay, can I get a mover for that, please? Councilor Spose, seconder. Councilor Bailey. All right, all in favor, and if you have a last comment, feel free. Where do we start? Councilor Spose.
In favor?
Okay, Councilor Bailey.
In favor.
Councilor Balmer.
In favor.
All right. I appreciate it. It's something I put a lot of time into and a lot of effort because of the importance to our community. And I'm running out of ideas, so hopefully this is successful. And yeah. Wait for Miss Councilor Goyda to come back. There she is. Council reports, mayor's updates. I don't think there's anything that we haven't discussed. We did the traffic master plan, TAPMO. Anything from council? Councilor Goida?
I did just want to make council aware that due to COVID-19, unfortunately, this year, again, the Mill Creek Ranger program is not taking place because of some of the of keeping distance and sharing vehicles and things like that. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out for a bit, but I think we got most of it.
I'll turn my video off. So that was disappointing news to receive. It's understandable, and we need to make sure to keep everyone safe. But it's sad that second year in a row we can't have the Ranger program. I just wanted to let council know.
Okay, that's it's unfortunate to hear, but it is the times. Anybody else? No. Okay. Ms. White Fox, want to read a resolution, please? To receive.
That council receive the council members' reports for information.
Thank you. Mover, please.
Move.
Councilor Spillis, second.
Second.
Councilor Bulmer, all in favor. Councilor Goida.
In favor.
Councilor Spillis.
In favor.
Councilor Bailey.
In favor.
And Councilor Bulmer.
In favor.
All right, that's carried. And the bylaws. Ms. White Fox.
Yes, I apologize in advance. It's quite a bit to read, but that the following bylaws be taken as read 3 times and finally passed in open council. Revised bylaw 2021-006 being a bylaw to repeal and replace Schedule D through F of bylaw 5000-05 as amended, being a bylaw to regulate the parking or stopping of vehicles on highways within the township of Puslinch. Bylaw 2021-008 being a bylaw to adopt the budget for the corporation of the township of Puslinch for the year 2021. Bylaw number 2020-009 being a bylaw to authorize the entering into a natural gas appointment and retainer agreement with the local authority services. Bylaw 2021-010 being a bylaw to amend the township's procedural bylaw 59-08 as amended. Bylaw 2021-011 being a bylaw to appoint Andrew Hartholt as the chief building official for the corporation of the township of Puslinch and to repeal bylaw 86-16. Bylaw 2021-012 being a bylaw to appoint Gerald Moore as the deputy chief building official for the corporation of the township of Puslinch. Bylaw number 2021-013 being a bylaw to appoint Barb Mussini as building official for the corporation of the township of Puslinch and to repeal bylaws 57-17, 69-17, 1-18, and 25-18. Bylaw 2021-014 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 65-19 to appoint Courtney Hoyfox as municipal clerk and to repeal bylaw 19-20. Bylaw 2021-015 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 65-19 to appoint Glenn Schwendinger as deputy clerk. And bylaw 2021-016 being a bylaw to amend bylaw 4320, the appointment of the municipal enforcement officer, Ivan Lunensky.
Courtney, you cut out after 12.1. Can you repeat that, please? All of it?
Oh, sorry, just the very last.
No,
Are
I'm
you
just
kidding?
teasing.
Oh, no.
I'm just teasing with you. Can I get a mover for that? And thank you for reading it because I sure as heck didn't want to. Councilor Spillis, seconder, Councilor Bailey, all in favor and comments. Councilor Goida.
In favor.
Thank you. Councilor.
And congratulations to all.
Yes. Councilor Spillis.
In favor.
Councilor Bailey.
In favor.
Councilor Bulmer.
Thank you. Yes, congratulations. So if I understand this correctly, Mr. Schwindinger will now be reporting to Ms. White Fox.
I was going to mention congratulations, Ms. White Fox, on your promotion, and congratulations, Mr. Schwendinger, on your demotion.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
Thank
Not
you.
many bosses demote themselves. No, it's all
Yes,
good.
well.
So,
So thank you, I'm in favor, and I encourage Ms. White Fox to be kind to her new deputy clerk to make sure that, give that deputy clerk time to grow into the position.
Thanks, Councillor Ballmer. That's great advice.
excellent. And, there was some discussion about trying to meet the individuals. Even today, our new bylaw officer, that's the first time, other than email, I think that's the part of COVID, but maybe we'll see some of these individuals on a Zoom meeting. That'd be great. All right. So that's passed, right? Everybody passed? That's good. So we have closed session, none, as far as I know, on my piece of paper. Any business arising from the closed session we didn't have? Nope. What's the motion? Nothing. New business. Nothing. Glenn, did we discuss something under announcements I was supposed to speak of? I didn't write it down. Or did we put it under correspondence? I think it was the TAPMO I originally thought was supposed to go under announcements or something.
I believe so, yes. Oh, sorry, Courtney?
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, Mr. Chair, we talked about the Volunteer of the Year.
Oh, that's right.
Appreciation Award.
Do you mind just discussing that for me? Because pages of paper here and I've mixed
Yes, no problem.
out of here.
So this is just to formally announce that we are going to be opening the nominations for the 2021 Volunteer Appreciation Awards starting on February the 12th. And the nominations will be open for a month, so until March the 12th. We're looking to bring back the nominees in April for consideration, in March, with the award being announced in April. We're looking to use the Bang the Table website, as well as having an online submission form for this as well. And staff has also just updated the website to acknowledge previous recipients of the award. So they'll now be listed on the township website as well, just for further recognition.
Okay, questions or comments? Anybody? I'll just pull all my papers away. Not seeing any. Okay. Confirmatory bylaw. Ms. White Fox.
That the following bylaw be taken as read 3 times and finally passed in open council. Bylaw 2021-017, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council for the corporation of the Township of Puslinch at its meeting held on the 10th day of February 2021.
Excellent. A mover, please. Councillor Spillis, seconder. Councillor Bailey, all in favor. Councillor Goida.
In favor.
Councillor Spillis.
In favor.
Councillor Bailey.
In favor.
Councillor Ballmer.
In favor.
Thank you. And adjournment, please, Ms. White Fox.
That council hereby adjourns at 2:05 p.m.
Mover.
I move.
Councillor Ballmer, seconded by Councillor Goida. All in favor.
In favor.
Councillor Spillis.
Favor.
Councillor Ballmer. I had to leave somebody else out. I had to do it. I couldn't let Matthew be the only councillor. I skipped the whole meeting. Councillor Bailey.
In favor.
Councillor Ballmer.
In favor.
All right. Nice work. Well, I'll catch the bus still for the children. That's good.
Yeah.
So
Good job.
Councillor Goid, are you working from home today, or is that your new fiber connection, or are you somewhere else?
No, it's not.